Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine, if you will, a world stripped of the frantic noise of the modern day. No screens, no hum of electricity, no hurried footsteps on pavement. We are in the year 1785, deep within the heart of Edo. The evening air is crisp, carrying the scent of damp earth and wood smoke. But inside this small paper wall sanctuary, the world has simply stopped. You are sitting on a cool woven tatami mat. The shoji screens are pulled shut, sealing out the chill, creating a cocoon of absolute stillness. The only thing you can smell is the faint, sweet, and grounding aroma of cherry wood, freshly shaved, mingling with the earthy fragrance of a cooling cup of green tea. This is not just a workshop, it is a space of pure meditative focus. Before us sits a master carver, a silent architect of images. He does not rush. He does not worry about the clocks or the demands of the world outside. He has one goal, one single, precise motion to perform, and then another. Tonight, we are stepping into the quietest corner of the 18th century, where every slice of a chisel is a heartbeat, and every curl of wood is a testament to patience. If you have ever felt the weight of a long, loud day, stay right here. Let the world fall away. Let us drift into the rhythm of the woodblock, the steady light of the candle, and the ancient art of finding peace in the work of our hands. The master shifts his weight, the chisel catches the light, the wood gives way. Welcome to the workshop. The atmosphere in this back room is thick with a deliberate, comforting weight, not a weight of burden, but a weight of presence. The room is small, intimate, and perfectly ordered. Every tool has its place, resting on a clean cloth. The master carver himself is a study in controlled stillness. He wears a simple indigo-dyed cotton kimono, the fabric soft from years of wear. He moves with a grace that comes from thousands of hours of repetition. He does not look around. He does not need to. His world is defined by the few square inches of cherry wood block before him. This specific wood, hard, dense, fine-grained cherry, is the soul of the ukiyo-e print. It is resistant, demanding respect, and in return it offers a surface that can hold the finest detail imaginable. That subtle sound of the blade biting into wood is the heartbeat of this room. It is the sound of a mountain landscape coming into existence, one thin sliver at a time. The master is currently carving a ridge, a subtle incline that will eventually be inked and pressed onto mulberry paper. He is not carving the mountain. He is carving the space around it, shaping the negative volume so that the majesty of the peaks can eventually emerge. There is a profound sense of domestic safety here. Outside, Edo is a bustling metropolis, a city of wooden structures and paper doors, always wary of fire, always subject to the whims of the seasons. But here, the walls are thick enough to hold a piece in. The candlelight dances on the grain of the wood, casting long, soft shadows that stretch toward the corners of the room. The master pauses. He lifts a small, delicate brush to sweep away a microscopic pile of wood dust. The dust is like powdered gold in the candlelight, settling onto the tatami. He picks up his tea. The ceramic is warm in his calloused palms. He takes a slow, measured sip. He is not just a craftsman. He is a guardian of a vanishing kind of quiet. He knows that when he finishes this block, the print will exist long after he is gone. That knowledge does not create anxiety. It creates a deep, resonant calm. He sets the tea down. He picks up the chisel. The cycle begins again. If you feel your shoulders tightening or your mind racing, take a cue from the master. Release your grip. You do not have to produce a masterpiece tonight. You only need to focus on the one thing immediately in front of you. That is where the peace lives. In the singular, unhurried task, in the scent of the wood, in the steady, unwavering flame. We are entering a state of flow, a state where the boundaries between the person and the craft begin to dissolve. As we move deeper into this evening, let your breathing match the rhythm of the chisel, in and out, cut and clear. The master turns the block slightly. The light hits the newly carved lines, revealing a subtle texture, a promise of a distant forest. He is a creator, a silent gardener of wood, planting memories into the grain, and you, in this quiet, are his silent companion, witnessing the gentle unfolding of order from chaos. Everything is in its place. The room is safe. The night is quiet. There is nowhere else to be. The master carver continues his work, his movements so deliberate and rhythmic that they seem to govern the flow of time within the room itself. Each gesture is stripped of unnecessary exertion. There is no wasted energy, no frantic reaching for tools. Everything he needs lies within a small radius, arranged with a precision that speaks to decades of habit. He reaches for a different chisel, the blade curved specifically for excavating larger areas of the cherry wood, and with a gentle controlled push, he removes a thin layer of grain. The wood yields under his hand, not with a struggle, but with a quiet surrender. In this space, the concept of urgency does not exist. Outside, the world of Edo may be governed by the striking of temple bells, by the rising and setting of the sun, and by the relentless pressure of commerce, but here the only clock is the progress of the blade. The master finds solace in this detachment. He is entirely consumed by the texture of the wood, the way the grain flows like a river, sometimes twisting and knotting, requiring him to change his angle, to soften his touch, or to press with renewed confidence. He knows every square inch of this block, as intimately as he knows the lines of his own palms. As he carves, his mind wanders through the landscapes he has depicted over the years. He remembers the sharp, cold air of mountain passes he has walked in his youth, the way the mist clings to the valleys at dawn, and the deep, rich greens of the pine forests after a summer rain. These memories are not just thoughts, they are the blueprints for his work. When he carves a line representing a mountain ridge, he is not just cutting wood. He is channeling an experience, translating the vastness of nature into the miniature tangible reality of a printing block. This process is a dialogue between the craftsman and the natural world, a way of preserving the fleeting beauty of the landscape within the permanent solid structure of the cherry wood. The scent in the room remains constant, a mixture of the clean, sharp smell of newly exposed wood fibers and the lingering, comforting scent of the tea. The candlelight, unwavering and soft, casts a warm glow over his workspace, illuminating the intricate patterns he has already completed. Every line is perfectly spaced, every ridge is sharp and clean. There is a profound sense of satisfaction in this. It is the satisfaction of seeing something beautiful emerge from a raw, unshaped piece of material. It is the satisfaction of knowing that, with enough patience and care, even the most complex and overwhelming tasks can be simplified into a series of small, manageable steps. For you listening to this, imagine that your own life can be treated with the same level of care and precision. Imagine that the stresses and responsibilities that often crowd your mind can be set aside, just as the master sets aside the rough scraps of wood that he has cleared away. You are in a safe, protected environment. You are free from the need to perform, to produce, or to rush. You are invited, like the master carver, to lose yourself in the process of the moment. Let the rhythm of the work become your rhythm. Let the stillness of the room become your own internal stillness. He adjusts his position on the tatami, his joints silent, his movements fluid. He reaches for a small fine brush and meticulously cleans the dust from the deepest recesses of the carving, revealing the crisp, clean edges of a cluster of trees. This act of cleaning is just as important as the act of carving. It is a way of honoring the work, of ensuring that no detail is obscured, and of maintaining the integrity of the design. It is a reminder that excellence is found in the details, in the small, often unseen efforts that make a project complete. The night deepens, yet there is no darkness in the room. The candle remains his steadfast companion, its flame a constant dancing light that brings warmth and clarity to the task at hand. The world outside may be cooling, the air growing sharper, and the stars becoming more distant, but here there is only the warmth of the lamp and the quiet, productive energy of the workshop. The master feels a sense of profound contentment. He has done this work for many years, and yet, each time he sits before a fresh block, it feels like the very first time. There is always something new to learn, always a deeper level of focus to achieve, and always a greater peace to be found within the wood. As he continues, his breathing becomes even more shallow and rhythmic, matching the pace of the chisel. He is fully present, fully engaged, and entirely at peace. The worries of the day have vanished, replaced by the simple, grounding reality of the physical world. The wood, the tool, and the craftsman are one. This is the essence of his life, the core of his being, and tonight it is yours as well. Relax into this feeling. Let the silence of the room embrace you. Let the steady, quiet work of the master guide you toward a state of complete rest. Everything is as it should be. The wood is being shaped. The landscape is being formed. And your mind is finding its own path to tranquility. The master carver pauses, his hand hovering over the wood, as if contemplating the next stroke. He is not stalling. He is listening. He is listening to the wood, feeling for the hidden directions of the grain, ensuring that the next cut will be as graceful and clean as the one before it. The silence in the room is not an empty, hollow silence. It is a full, resonant silence, packed with the potential for creation. It is the kind of quiet that you only find when you have completely let go of the need to be anywhere else. He decides on the angle, adjusts his grip on the chisel, and with a swift, confident motion, slices through the cherry. A delicate curl of wood peels away, falling onto the pile below like a soft golden ribbon. He smiles faintly to himself, a tiny movement of the lips that goes unseen, yet reflects the internal joy of a task perfectly executed. There is a unique type of peace that comes from the marriage of hand and tool. For the master, the chisel is an extension of his own fingers, an instrument that allows him to touch the world in a way that is transformative. He considers the landscape. He is crafting, the way the winding paths move around the base of the mountain, leading the eye upward toward the peak. He thinks of the people who will eventually see this print, how they will hold the paper in their hands, how they will trace the lines he is creating tonight with their own eyes. They will not see the hours of quiet labor, nor will they feel the chill of the Edo evening, but they will inherit the peace that he is currently pouring into the wood. He is creating a bridge of tranquility that transcends time and space. He reaches for his tea again, his fingers brushing the smooth, slightly cooled ceramic of the cup. The liquid inside is now just the right temperature, a mild, soothing infusion that grounds him. He takes a long sip, letting the warmth settle in his chest, feeling the connection between his own body and the humble, natural world that supports him. The tatami mats beneath him, woven from dry rushes, offer a firm yet yielding surface that supports his posture. There is nothing extraneous in this room. Everything is functional, everything is beautiful in its simplicity. This aesthetic of wabi-sabi, finding beauty in the incomplete, the imperfect, and the ephemeral, is the foundation of his practice. He knows that the block will eventually wear down, that the prints will eventually fade, and that the mountain itself will change over the centuries. Yet there is a profound quiet strength in acknowledging this impermanence. It does not make his work less meaningful, it makes it more precious. As the candle continues to burn, its height slowly diminishing, the light in the room shifts in subtle, imperceptible ways. The shadows deepen, reaching further into the corners, while the central workspace remains bathed in that constant golden glow. The master carver is not concerned by the passage of time. He does not look for the dawn. He is content to dwell in this eternal present, where the only thing that matters is the clarity of the line and the precision of the cut. He is a master of the present moment, a practitioner of the art of now. And as you listen, you are invited to join him in this space. You are invited to shed the heavy cloak of your own daily worries and step into this circle of light. Think of the burdens you carry, the schedules, the expectations, the voices of others that echo in your mind. Imagine them as rough, jagged pieces of wood that you are now setting aside. Imagine that you are smoothing them down, refining them, and turning them into something beautiful and calm. You are in control of your own internal workshop. You can choose to clear away the debris, to focus on the essential, and to create a space of sanctuary for your own mind. The master carver's dedication is a mirror for your own potential for peace. When he works, he is not just making a print, he is making a choice. He is choosing focus over distraction, calm over chaos, and depth over superficiality. He turns the block again, the surface now smoother, the details beginning to emerge with startling clarity. He examines the work from a new perspective, holding the candle closer to catch the side lighting, which reveals any minor imperfections. He makes a tiny microscopic adjustment with a fine-tipped gouge, a correction so small that no one else would ever notice it, but he knows, and that is enough. That inner integrity, that commitment to doing the job right, simply for the sake of the work itself, is the source of his profound contentment. He does not need the applause of the crowd or the recognition of the masters. He only needs the quiet validation of his own craft. Listen to the rhythmic breathing of the room. It is a slow, steady pulse that syncs with your own with each passing moment. The world feels more distant, the air in this room more still, and your own body more relaxed. You are safe. You are held by the silence. You are supported by the history that surrounds you. The tradition of craftsmanship that has survived for centuries and the quiet, persistent beauty of the human hand at work. Let yourself be carried by the gentle momentum of the master's progress. Let your thoughts settle like the wood dust, becoming part of the quiet landscape of your mind. There is no urgency, there is no demand. There is only the light, the wood, and the piece of a job well done. The night continues to unfold outside, but the inside of this workshop remains a bubble of serenity. The master carver feels no desire for anything else. He is completely satisfied, completely engaged, and completely at home within this task. His hands, though calloused and marked by time, are steady and strong. They have a wisdom of their own, a memory of thousands of movements that guides them even when his mind might wander. He trusts his hands, he trusts his tools, and he trusts the process. This trust is the ultimate source of his comfort. It is the foundation upon which he builds his life of quiet devotion. As you settle in further, allow yourself to feel that same sense of trust. Trust in the quiet, trust in the stillness, trust in your ability to find your own way to peace just as he has. The work continues, slow and steady, a tapestry of effort weaving itself into the fabric of the night. Every cut is a blessing, every movement a prayer, every moment a gift of profound, enduring calm. The master carver shifts his posture ever so slightly, the tatami mat offering a soft, muted sound as he adjusts his knees. He has been at this for hours, yet there is no sign of fatigue in his movements. In fact, as the night deepens, his focus seems to sharpen, becoming more intense and more refined. He reaches for a small piece of fine-grained sandpaper, a specialized material made from dried shark skin, which he uses to polish the surface of the block. The friction is light, barely audible, a whispering sound that adds a new layer of texture to the atmosphere of the room. He moves the shark skin in a circular motion, smoothing the already carved ridges, removing any stray fibers that might interfere with the clarity of the print. This level of refinement is what separates the true master from the apprentice. It is the final unseen polish that allows the ink to transfer perfectly, that ensures the final image will be crisp and vibrant. He pauses, setting the shark skin aside, and blows gently across the surface of the block. A tiny cloud of fine, pale dust dances in the light of the candle before settling softly onto the mats. He watches the dust motes swirl, mesmerized by their chaotic beauty, a sharp contrast to the rigid order of the woodblock. He realizes that even in his quest for total precision, there is always an element of the unexpected, always a touch of randomness that he cannot fully control. And that is fine. He accepts it with a gentle, knowing nod. Life, like wood, is a mixture of the intended and the accidental, and the secret is not to fight the irregularities, but to work with them, to incorporate them into the final vision. As you listen, consider the areas of your own life that you try to control with too much force. Are you spending too much energy trying to polish away the parts of your experience that don't fit perfectly into your plans? Perhaps you can learn from the master. Perhaps you can allow yourself to work with the grain of your life rather than against it. When you encounter an obstacle, instead of forcing your will upon it, try to see it as a natural feature of the wood, something that requires a different approach, a softer touch, or a different perspective. By doing so, you will find that you can move forward with less resistance and more grace. He reaches for a small rectangular stone that he uses to sharpen his chisels. He holds it firmly as a drop of water and begins to hone the edge of his favorite tool. The sound is metallic and rhythmic, a steady sliding rasp that fills the small room with a sense of purpose. This ritual of sharpening is the bedrock of his craftsmanship. A dull tool is a source of frustration, an invitation to error, and a waste of energy. A sharp tool, however, is a source of joy. It bites into the wood with ease, requiring very little physical effort. It rewards the master for his diligence, and as he sharpens, he is also sharpening his own intention. He is refining his focus, letting go of anything that might distract him from the task at hand. This is the perfect moment for you to consider your own priorities. What are the tools in your life that need sharpening? What are the areas where you have grown dull, where you have allowed your focus to blur or your efforts to become sluggish? Perhaps it is time to sit down with your own metaphorical whetstone. Perhaps it is time to dedicate a few moments to realigning your goals, to cleaning away the distractions, and to ensuring that your efforts are as sharp and effective as they can be. You don't need to change your entire life overnight. You only need to make one small intentional adjustment, one sharpening of the blade, one shift in your perspective. The candle is getting shorter now. The pool of wax at its base is expanding. The light is warmer, more intimate. Outside, the wind might be picking up, perhaps rattling the shoji screens ever so slightly, but inside, the air is still a pocket of warmth maintained by the master's presence. He is completely, utterly at ease. He is a man who knows his purpose and takes pride in his work. And that is a rare and beautiful state of being. He is not a man of great wealth, nor is he a man of great power in the world of Edo. But in this room, he is a king. He is the master of his craft, the ruler of his own domain, and the guardian of his own peace. And you, as a listener, are being invited into this kingdom of quiet dignity. If you find that this sense of calm is beginning to settle over you, lean into it. Let your muscles relax, let your breathing deepen, and allow yourself to fully inhabit this moment. You are not meant to be rushing through your life, constantly chasing the next milestone, always looking toward the horizon. You are meant to be here in the present, doing the work that is before you, finding joy in the small everyday tasks, and cultivating a garden of peace within your own heart. This is the wisdom of the Master Carver, a gift that he offers to anyone willing to listen to the rhythm of his chisel. As you continue to listen, let the sound of the sharpening stone and the steady, quiet breathing of the Master become a background track for your own relaxation. Feel the tension leaving your shoulders, feel your mind clearing of its clutter, and embrace the silence. This is your time to rest, to recharge, and to find your center. And if you are enjoying this journey into the quiet history of Edo, consider subscribing to our channel and turning on notifications. By doing so, you help us continue to create these sanctuary-like experiences, bringing the peace and wisdom of the past into the frantic, noisy world of today. Together, we can build a community that values deep work, quiet reflection, and the beauty of a slow, intentional life. Every subscription is a small but significant step toward a world that remembers how to pause, how to breathe, and how to find peace in the work of our hands. The master puts the sharpening stone aside, the surface of his chisel now gleaming like a mirror in the low light. He tests the edge by gently shaving a tiny sliver from a scrap of wood. The metal glides through the fibers as if they were made of silk, leaving behind a crisp, clean surface that feels smooth to the touch. This, he thinks, is the true meaning of a good life, one that is prepared, refined, and ready to meet the challenges of the world with elegance and ease. He wipes the tool clean with a piece of soft cloth, his movements almost reverent, as if he is thanking the metal for its service. He places it back on his mat, right alongside his other tools, each one perfectly positioned. He stands up slowly, his legs a bit stiff from the long hours of sitting, and takes a moment to stretch his back. He reaches his arms overhead, his fingers splayed, and takes a deep cleansing breath. The room is quiet, the air cool and still. He walks over to the shoji screen and presses his ear against the paper. Listening to the night, a distant owl calls out, a haunting, beautiful sound that anchors him in the vastness of the world outside. He smiles, knowing that while the night is vast, his place in it is defined and secure. He returns to his mat, sitting down again with the same grace he had before, and picks up a fresh section of the cherry block. This new section is for the sky of the landscape, a large expanse that will eventually be filled with a soft gradient of indigo. He has to carve this area with even more care, for any unevenness in the wood will show up as a blemish in the final print. He begins with a wide, flat chisel, systematically clearing away the unwanted material. He works in long, sweeping strokes, moving from the top of the block down toward the horizon line. The wood here is softer, less resistant than the dense grain of the mountain ridges, and he finds a new rhythm, a faster, more fluid motion that allows him to cover more ground. This is the balance of his work. Moments of intense microscopic detail followed by periods of broad sweeping action. It is a metaphor for life. He realizes we all have our seasons of deep, painstaking labor, where every tiny decision feels monumental, and we all have our seasons of broad, sweeping change where we can move with more freedom and speed. The key is to recognize which season you are in and to adjust your approach accordingly. Do not try to rush through the details and do not be afraid of the big movements. Embrace the rhythm of your own development and trust that each stage is necessary for the final complete picture to emerge. He stops to check the depth of his cut, his thumb tracing the newly lowered surface. It is perfect. He is a man of few words, and his thoughts are usually simple, anchored in the reality of the task. He doesn't indulge in complex philosophies. He lives them. He understands that existence is a craft, something that is built through daily action and sustained through consistent presence. He finds that the more he focuses on the work, the less he worries about the future or dwells on the past. The present moment is a powerful, grounding force, and he has learned how to anchor himself within it. He thinks about the young apprentices who sometimes watch him work. They are often impatient, wanting to move on to the more important tasks, like inking the blocks or pressing the paper. They don't yet understand that the carving is the most essential part. The carving is the foundation. Without it, nothing else can happen. They want the result without the labor. He feels a quiet pity for them, but he also remembers being that age, so he doesn't judge. He simply invites them to sit, to breathe, and to watch. If they can learn the value of the quiet, if they can learn to find joy in the repetition, they will eventually become masters in their own right. As you listen to these words, remember that you are also in the process of becoming. You are the carver, and your life is the block of cherry wood. Each day is a series of strokes, some deep and challenging, others light and easy. You are shaping your character, refining your path, and creating a legacy that is uniquely yours. Do not be discouraged by the time it takes, and do not be distracted by the speed at which others seem to be moving. Stay with your work, maintain your focus, honor the process. The results will come in time, and they will be all the more beautiful because you took the time to do them well. The candle flickers, its light dancing across the room, and for a moment the shadows seem to move, as if they are ghosts of the past. Watching the master at his work, he doesn't mind. He feels a kinship with all the carvers who have sat on these mats before him, all the hands that have guided the chisel across this same wood, all the minds that have found peace in this same silence. They are part of the story, and he is the latest chapter. It is a comforting thought, a reminder that we are never truly alone, that we are always part of a larger, ongoing tradition of humanity. And as you drift further into this state of deep relaxation, feel yourself becoming part of this long, quiet lineage of creators, a soul finding peace in the simple, beautiful act of being. The master carver shifts his position, the soft sound of his weight settling against the tatami mats, echoing slightly in the stillness of the room. He reaches for a small damp cloth and wipes the surface of the block, clearing away the fine wood dust that has accumulated from his most recent session of clearing. The damp wood takes on a deeper, richer color under the candlelight, the grain pattern standing out with newfound clarity. He admires the way the wood interacts with the moisture, a subtle transformation that reminds him of how even the smallest shift in environment can change one's perspective. It is a lesson in adaptability, a reminder that the world is always shifting and that our strength lies in our ability to shift with it, to remain grounded while staying flexible. He sets the cloth down and picks up a thinner, more precise chisel, one designed for delicate work, like the fine lines of trees or the architectural details of a village nestled in the valley. He starts with the smallest cluster of pines on the horizon, his hand moving with a precision that defies his age. Each stroke is a calculated decision, a tiny commitment to the landscape he is creating. He is not merely carving lines, he is carving a suggestion of space, a hint of distance that will invite the viewer's eye to travel deep into the scene. He imagines someone, perhaps a traveler, in a distant city, looking at a print made from this block and feeling a sudden, unexplained wave of calm. That is the true purpose of his craft, to bring peace to others through the medium of his labor. He does not know them. He will never meet them. But in this quiet room, he is doing something that will eventually touch their hearts. This connection, however distant, is what keeps him engaged, what drives him to give his best effort, even when the night is late and the candle is burning low. In these moments of extreme focus, the world outside the room ceases to exist entirely. There is no Edo, no shoji screen, no passing time. There is only the wood, the chisel, and the unfolding image. He reaches a level of concentration where his own self-consciousness dissolves. He is no longer a person doing a task. He is the task itself. This is a state of grace, a place where the barriers between the creator and the creation disappear. It is a rare and precious experience, one that he has spent his entire life learning how to enter. He finds that the more he practices, the easier it becomes to slip into this state, as if his mind is a well-worn path that he can walk with his eyes closed. He invites you to join him there. Let go of the need to understand or to analyze. Just feel the rhythm, the texture of the story, the warmth of the light, and the silence that holds it all together. As he works, the smell of the shaved cherry wood seems to intensify, a sweet resinous scent that fills the room and lingers in the air. It is a scent that represents home, safety, and the steady, reliable rhythm of a life well lived. He is a man who finds his sanctuary in the work, and he hopes that in your own way you can find a sanctuary as well. Whether your work is done with tools, with words, with numbers, or with ideas, it can be a source of meditation if you approach it with the right mindset. The secret is not in what you do, but in how you do it. With presence, with intention, and with a heart that is open to the quiet wisdom of the process. He knows that his life has been shaped by this realization, and he feels a deep sense of gratitude for the wood, for the tools, and for the peace that he has found here. He pauses, leaning back to take a long, slow breath. The silence in the room feels heavy, a thick, comfortable blanket that wraps around him. He feels the fatigue beginning to settle into his bones, but it is a good, healthy fatigue, the kind that comes from a day of honest labor. He knows that soon he will need to rest, but for now, he is content to continue. There is still a little bit of wood to clear, a few final details to refine. He enjoys the anticipation of finishing, the knowledge that tomorrow, when the sun rises, he will see his work in a new light, perhaps even find more things to adjust. He is never in a hurry to be done. The work is a journey, not a destination, and he enjoys every step of the way. It is interesting. He thinks how much of life is defined by the things we don't finish or the things that are always in a state of becoming. A garden is never finished. A relationship is never finished. A person is never finished. We are all works in progress, always changing, always growing, always being shaped by our experiences. The important thing is to enjoy the process of becoming, to find value in the current version of yourself, and to trust that the next version will arrive in its own time. This is the wisdom that his craft has taught him, a lesson that he carries with him into every aspect of his life. As he makes the final few strokes of the night, he feels a sense of profound closure. The block is ready, the lines are set, and the mountain landscape is waiting to be born. He is tired, but his spirit is light, buoyed by the sense of accomplishment that comes from a deep, focused engagement. He gathers his tools one by one and places them back in their assigned spot on the cloth. Everything is in order exactly as it should be. He feels a sense of deep domestic safety, a feeling of being in the right place at the right time. He knows that tomorrow, the world will wake up and begin again. But tonight, there is only this quiet, peaceful end to a day of meaningful effort. He knows that you too deserve this sense of completion at the end of your day. Sleepy History with Theodore is a sleep history storytelling platform created for entertainment, inspiration, education, and the promotion of positive emotional values. The master moves with a deliberate, slow grace as he prepares to extinguish the candle. The room has been his entire universe for hours, and now, as the wick begins to drown in the molten wax, he feels the boundaries of that universe expanding to encompass the quiet sleeping house. He carefully places a small wooden lid over the flame, watching the last trail of smoke curl into the air before vanishing into the shadows. The transition from light to dark is not jarring, rather it is a gentle, welcome embrace. He sits in the soft ambient dimness for a long moment, allowing his eyes to adjust, feeling the residual warmth of the room radiate against his skin. The silence here is absolute, a profound stillness that seems to vibrate with the history of the workshop, the countless hours of focused labor that have seeped into the floorboards and the very air itself. He rises, his movements fluid and quiet, and moves to the shoji screen. With a steady hand, he slides the panel open just a crack. The night air, cool and sharp, with the scent of late autumn, brushes against his face, a refreshing contrast to the warm, wood-infused atmosphere he has just departed. He looks out into the small enclosed courtyard, where a single stone lantern stands as a silent sentinel in the dark. The moonlight filters through the branches of a gnarled pine tree, casting complex, shifting patterns on the ground. It is a scene of profound tranquility, a natural masterpiece that requires no carving, no ink, and no paper to exist. He finds a deep, resonant connection between this living landscape and the one he has just shaped on a wooden block. Both are expressions of the same truth, that beauty is everywhere, waiting only for someone to take the time to notice it. Returning to his spot on the mats, he settles into a reclined position, pulling a thin indigo-dyed quilt around his shoulders. He knows the importance of rest, for his hands are his livelihood, and his spirit requires the renewal of sleep to remain sharp and clear. As he lies there, he begins to replay the events of the evening in his mind, but not as a series of chores to be checked off. Instead, he visualizes the texture of the cherry wood, the crisp sensation of the chisel moving through the grain, and the feeling of complete presence he experienced while working. This mental review is a form of gratitude, a way of anchoring the day's experiences in his memory so that they become part of his foundation. It is a practice of peace, and it is one he hopes you are beginning to adopt for yourself as well. He thinks about the nature of the woodblock itself, how it starts as a raw, chaotic object filled with knots and hidden tensions, and how through persistence and patience it is refined into a vessel for beauty. This is a powerful reminder that we too are constantly being refined by the experiences of our lives, the difficulties we face, the challenges we overcome, and the quiet moments of labor we endure are all carving us, shaping our character, and helping us reveal the essence of who we are. There is no need to fear the shaping process, even when it feels like we are being pared down or pushed to our limits. It is all part of the work, and the end result is something uniquely precious. As he drifts closer to sleep, his thoughts become less structured, flowing like a river. He imagines the mountain landscape he carved today, the way the ink will soon flow into the channels he created, and the way the paper will capture the impression of his efforts. He envisions the finished print being carried out into the world, to homes he will never see and hands he will never shake. It is a comforting image, a testament to the ripple effect of our actions. Even the smallest, most private act of devotion has the power to leave a mark on the world, to offer comfort, inspiration, or a moment of beauty to someone else. This realization brings him a sense of peace that is profound and lasting. He feels his breathing slow further, his body becoming heavy and deeply relaxed. The worries of the world, the economy of Edo, the politics of the shogunate, the uncertainty of the future, all feel like distant echoes, irrelevant to the simple, fundamental reality of his own existence. He is a man who has done his part, who has contributed his piece to the puzzle, and who is now allowed to rest. He is at peace with his limitations, knowing that he doesn't have to carry the weight of the entire world on his shoulders. He only has to be himself, to do his work, and to be present in the moment, and that is enough. The house around him is silent, save for the occasional distant sound of a dog barking or the wind shifting through the roof tiles. He finds comfort in these sounds as they remind him that he is part of a community, a living, breathing city that is currently tucked into bed. He is safe within his walls, protected by the traditions and the quiet, solid structure of the workshop. He lets go of the last threads of his consciousness, feeling himself slipping into the soft velvet dark of sleep. There is no urgency to wake, no tasks waiting in the dark. There is only the long, restful night ahead, a time for the spirit to heal and the body to rejuvenate. He is at home, he is at peace, and he is profoundly content. May this same sense of deep restorative rest be yours as you continue this journey into the stillness of the past. The darkness of the room is not empty. It is filled with the echoes of the day's work, a subtle, lingering presence of the wood and the tools that define the master's time. In this state between wakefulness and deep sleep, his mind drifts to the forest where the cherry wood originated. He imagines the trees standing tall, their roots deep in the fertile soil, their branches reaching toward the sky through the changing seasons. He thinks of the rain that nourished them, the sun that warmed their leaves, and the long, slow growth that created the dense, fine grain that makes them so perfect for his craft. There is a cycle here that he finds deeply comforting. The tree growing in the wild, being shaped by the hand of the craftsman, and then ultimately serving as a medium for artistic expression. It is a reminder that everything is connected and that even in the city, we are part of the larger natural order of things. He feels his pulse slowing, his heartbeat becoming a soft, rhythmic thrumming against the silence of the room. Every muscle in his body has released its tension, settling into the familiar, comforting contours of the bedding. The tatami beneath him feels like a support he has trusted for a lifetime. He thinks about the importance of having a sanctuary, a place where one can truly be oneself, unobserved and unburdened by the expectations of the world. For him, this workshop is that place, a hallowed ground, where he can strip away the masks he wears in the marketplace or on the street and simply exist. He understands that this kind of interior life is essential for mental health, for clarity, and for the preservation of one's humanity in the face of a chaotic and often overwhelming world. As he drifts further, he reflects on the nature of his art. It is not just about the lines or the composition, it is about the intention behind every movement. He remembers how, when he was just an apprentice, his master taught him that a woodblock is a reflection of the carver's soul. If the carver is agitated or hurried, the work will show it. If the carver is calm and focused, the work will carry that same quality. He has spent decades cultivating this inner calm, learning how to steady his spirit as surely as he steadies his chisel. It is a lifelong practice, one that is never truly finished, but he finds joy in the pursuit. He is a better man today than he was 10 years ago, and he hopes to be even better 10 years from now. He feels a wave of gratitude for his life, for the opportunity to work with his hands, and for the small, steady joys that make up his daily existence. He thinks of the shared tea, the warm light of the candle, the satisfaction of a clean cut, and the quiet camaraderie of his fellow craftsmen. These are the things that sustain him, the building blocks of his contentment. He doesn't need grand achievements or public recognition to feel that his life has meaning. The meaning is in the daily practice, in the dedication to the craft, and in the quiet, persistent effort to make things better, one block at a time. It is a lesson that he hopes to pass on in some form to the future. He thinks about the concept of time. In the world outside, time is often perceived as a scarce commodity, something to be measured, fought over, and maximized. But here in the quiet of his workshop, time is a wide open landscape. It is not something to be felt, but something to be experienced. He realizes that when he is fully present in his work, time effectively stops. He is outside of the clock, living in a space of eternal creative possibility. It is a realization that brings him immense relief. He doesn't have to worry about the future because he is fully occupied by the present. He doesn't have to regret the past because he has already done the best he could with the time he was given. This state of mind is a gift, and he finds himself wishing that more people could experience it. He imagines the busy streets of Edo, the people rushing to and fro, their minds filled with worries and ambitions, and he feels a surge of compassion for them. He knows how hard it is to find this kind of stillness, how rare it is to find a place where you can just be. But he also knows that the possibility for this stillness is within everyone, waiting to be accessed. You don't need a workshop or a woodblock to find your own sanctuary. You only need the willingness to pause, the commitment to breathe, and the courage to focus on what is truly important. As he begins to slip into the deeper realms of sleep, his final thought is of the morning. He knows that the sun will rise, The shoji screens will be opened and the life of the city will resume, but he also knows that he will be ready. He will be rested, refreshed, and prepared to face the new day with the same calm and focused dedication. He is at peace with the transition from the day to the night, from action to rest, and from presence to the oblivion of sleep. He trusts the rhythm of his life. He trusts the world to carry on, and he trusts himself to find his way back to this place of calm whenever he needs to. Sleepy History with Theodore combines the power of AI to reimagine fictional historical tales, bringing peace, relaxation, and positive emotional values to our listeners. The morning light begins to filter through the delicate paper of the shoji screens, casting a soft, diffuse glow throughout the workshop. The master carver is already awake, his body naturally responding to the rhythm of the rising sun. He remains still for a moment, listening to the world as it slowly shakes off the lethargy of the night. The sounds of Edo are faint at this hour. The distant clip-clop of wooden sandals on the street, the early call of a street vendor, the quiet bustle of a city beginning its day. He lies on his side, feeling the cool air of the morning against his skin, and appreciates the simple, unadorned reality of the present. He does not rush to rise. He allows his consciousness to expand, savoring the transition from the dreamscape of the night to the clarity of the dawn. It is a time for reflection, for setting the intention for the day, and for simply being grateful for another opportunity to engage with his craft. He sits up, his movements fluid and unhurried, and performs his morning routine with the same devotion that he brings to his carving. He rolls up his bedding, tidying the sleeping space until it is once again a clean, empty stage for the day's work. He opens the screen to the courtyard, letting in the fresh, crisp air of the morning. The dew sits on the leaves of the pine tree, sparkling like diamonds in the pale light. He takes a moment to observe the changing colors of the sky, the subtle shift from indigo to a soft, warm peach. This daily ritual is his way of grounding himself in the natural world, of acknowledging the passage of time without being enslaved by it. He feels a sense of quiet vitality, a readiness to begin again, to pick up where he left off, and to continue the process of creation that gives his life its structure and meaning. He makes his way to the kitchen area to prepare a simple breakfast. The routine is familiar and comforting. The grinding of the tea, the boiling of the water, the quiet preparation of a bowl of rice. He works with the same economy of motion as he does with his chisels, wasting no effort, keeping everything in its proper place. As he eats, he thinks about the day ahead. He has the block to finish, the final touches to apply, and then the process of preparing it for the printers. It is a cycle of labor that he has performed countless times, yet it never feels mundane. Each project is a new challenge, a new opportunity to express his understanding of the world, and a new chance to refine his skills. He is energized by the prospect of the work, and he feels a deep, abiding contentment in the path he has chosen. After his meal, he returns to the workshop, his space ready and waiting. He sits down on the tatami, the familiar sensation of the woven mat under his legs acting as a trigger for his concentration. He feels the room settle around him, the quiet returning like a familiar friend. He looks at the cherry wood block which sits exactly as he left it, a silent witness to his labor. He picks up his favorite chisel, the one he spent so much time sharpening the night before, and tests the weight in his hand. It feels perfectly balanced, an extension of his own intention. He is ready to begin. The world outside may be full of noise and demand, but here there is only the focus of the task at hand. This is his sanctuary, and it is his strength. You too have the capacity to create such a sanctuary for yourself, even in the midst of your busiest days. It does not require a physical workshop or a craft. It requires only the commitment to create a space of intention in your mind. It requires the ability to pause, to breathe, and to recenter yourself whenever you feel the weight of the world pressing down. It requires the understanding that you are not just a collection of your responsibilities, but a person with an inner life that needs to be nurtured and protected. By finding these small, quiet moments in your day, you can build a reservoir of peace that will sustain you through whatever challenges you may face. You are the architect of your own inner landscape, and you have the power to make it a place of beauty, order, and calm. As he works, the master feels a sense of flow returning to his movements. He is not fighting the wood, he is working in harmony with it. He feels the grain, he anticipates the resistance, and he adjusts his pressure with an intuitive, effortless precision. The mountain landscape he is carving begins to take on a life of its own, the lines becoming clearer, the forms emerging with a startling, elegant reality. He feels a quiet joy in this unfolding, a sense of participating in a process that is larger than himself. He is a conduit for beauty, a medium through which the natural world is translated into human art, and he is profoundly grateful for this role, for the way it connects him to the essence of things, and for the way it provides a stable, grounding purpose for his existence. The hours pass, and the light in the room changes, shifting from the cool blue-tinted light of morning to the warm golden glow of midday. He does not check the time. He is entirely consumed by his work, and it is a state of being that he cherishes. He is a master of his own focus, and he has built a life that supports this depth of engagement. He hopes that as you follow along with this story, you find yourself slipping into a similar state of ease and focus. Let the details of his craft become a mirror for your own life, a reminder that you too can find meaning in your tasks, beauty in your efforts, and peace in your presence. If this journey through the quiet history of Edo has helped you find a moment of stillness in your own life, please consider subscribing to our channel and joining our community. Your support allows us to keep crafting these stories, to keep exploring the intersection of history and inner peace, and to share this message of slow, intentional living with others who need it. Every action, no matter how small, has the power to ripple outward and make a difference. By choosing to subscribe and engage, you are affirming the value of this kind of quiet, reflective content and helping us bring a little more peace and mindfulness to the world, one story at a time. The master works with a steady, unyielding patience, his focus fixed on the intricacies of the forest path he is currently shaping. This particular area of the block requires a different level of attention. The paths are winding, narrow, and must appear natural as if they were worn by the passage of time and footsteps of countless pilgrims. He uses a series of small hooked chisels that allow him to reach into the curves and angles of the wood without disturbing the surrounding grain. Each move is a testament to the discipline he has cultivated over decades. His breath is synchronized with the push of the tool, a gentle exhalation that releases as the wood gives way, followed by a soft, quiet inhale as he repositions. He is not merely carving a path, he is weaving a narrative, creating a journey that the viewer will take with their own eyes. The room is silent, yet it feels vibrant with the history of his craft. He knows that he is following in the footsteps of masters who came long before him, those who laid the foundation for the ukiyo-e style that defines this era. He feels a quiet sense of responsibility to honor that lineage, to ensure that the quality of his work reflects the standards of excellence that have been passed down through generations. This is not a burden, but a source of profound pride. He is a link in a chain of artistic tradition, and he is determined to hold that link firm and true. He understands that while the individual artist may be fleeting, the art itself has a life of its own, a continuity that spans centuries. As the morning progresses, he notices a subtle change in the air. The temperature is rising, and the scent of the cherry wood, which was sharp and crisp earlier, has softened, becoming mellower as the shavings lose their initial moisture. He pauses for a moment, resting his hands on the tatami, and observes the way the dust settles in the shafts of light streaming through the gap in the screens. It is a peaceful, orderly scene, and he finds himself captivated by the simple beauty of it. He thinks about how much of life is hidden in plain sight, in the small everyday details that we often overlook in our rush to achieve bigger things. He is thankful that his work demands this level of attention, that it forces him to slow down and notice the way light falls on a surface, the way a green turns, the way a shadow deepens. He takes a short break to enjoy a cup of tea, the ceramic bowl warming his fingers. The tea is a deep, earthy green, and he drinks it slowly, letting the heat travel through his body. This pause is not an interruption, it is an essential part of the work, a moment of integration where he can synthesize what he has accomplished and prepare for what is still to come. He thinks about his life in Edo, the simple joys, the challenges of working in a city that is always on the verge of change, and the quiet satisfaction of living a life of purpose. He is a man who is at peace with his place in the world, and he knows that this contentment is his most valuable possession. He ponders the nature of his own mortality. He knows that his hands will not always be as steady, that his eyes will eventually grow tired, and that the day will come when he can no longer sit for hours on the tatami, carving the wood with the same intensity. But this thought does not fill him with dread. Instead, it fills him with a sense of urgency to make the most of the time he has, to create work that is as honest and beautiful as possible while he is still able. He is not obsessed with leaving a legacy, he is obsessed with living a legacy. He wants to know, when the end comes, that he poured his heart into every cut, that he held nothing back, and that he lived a life that was consistent with his values. He returns to the wood, his hands refreshed. The work feels different now, more fluid, more intuitive. He's carving the foliage along the path, using a series of quick rhythmic cuts that mimic the chaotic yet orderly growth of a mountain forest. He trusts his instincts, letting his hands take the lead. It is a moment of pure creation, where the intention of his mind is perfectly translated into the physical reality of the wood. He feels a sense of quiet exhilaration, a subtle inner fire that keeps him engaged and inspired. He realizes that this too is part of the work, the ability to find excitement in the process, to keep the spirit alive, even in the midst of repetitive demanding labor. As the afternoon sun climbs higher, the room becomes bathed in a golden light that feels almost heavy with warmth. He continues to work, his movements becoming more refined, more delicate. He's polishing the surfaces he has carved, ensuring that everything is ready for the ink. The block is almost finished, and he can already see the final image in his mind's eye. He knows how the colors will look, how the lines will hold the ink, and how the entire landscape will come together to tell its story. It is a process of visualization that he has perfected over a lifetime, and it is one of the most rewarding aspects of his craft. He is not just carving a block, he is bringing a vision into existence. He reflects on the people who will eventually see his work. He imagines them in different places, at different times, perhaps feeling a sense of longing or peace as they look at the mountain path he has created. He is happy to be a part of their lives in this way, to offer a moment of reflection and beauty through the medium of his craft. He knows that art has the power to transcend the individual, to speak to something deeper and more universal in the human experience. And he is proud to be a part of that, to be a contributor to the cultural landscape of his time. He remains deeply grounded in his work, finding in it a source of stability and joy that is immune to the external stresses of the world. The master carver finds his rhythm shifting as the sun begins its slow descent toward the western horizon. The light in the workshop changes, losing its harsh midday intensity and taking on a softer, more honeyed hue that bathes his workspace in a gentle warmth. He is now moving into the final stage of the carving process, the refinement of the smaller ornamental details that will give the final print its character and depth. He works on the textures of the mountain rocks using a series of short, biting strokes to create the impression of rugged stone surfaces. The wood seems to yield to his efforts with a newfound willingness, as if the entire block has become a collaborator in his artistic vision. He feels a sense of profound harmony, a state where the resistance of the material and the force of his hand are in perfect, elegant balance. He considers the patience required to reach this stage. The process of woodblock carving is not a sprint, it is an endurance of focus, a steady, unyielding commitment to the slow emergence of form. Many of the younger carvers he has mentored struggle with this, often rushing the broad areas to get to the details, or growing weary when the progress seems too incremental. He always tells them that the wood is a teacher and that it rewards only those who are willing to listen to its pace. He remembers his own youth, the restless desire to see the finished print, the frustration with the slow, methodical labor. Looking back, he sees that all of that struggle was necessary, a period of tempering that forged his current ability to remain at peace in the middle of a long, complex task. As he carves, he reflects on the life he has built within these walls. It is a quiet life, often isolated from the major political and social currents that ripple through Edo. He knows that wars are fought, that shoguns change, and that the city undergoes constant transformations. Yet, in this back room, the fundamental act of creation remains untouched by the chaos. He finds comfort in this stability. He is a guardian of a craft that values reflection, observation, and the meticulous translation of beauty into form. This is his service to the world, his small, persistent contribution to the culture that surrounds him. He feels no need for fame or status. The work itself is the reward, a source of inner consistency that keeps him anchored, regardless of what happens outside. He pauses, setting down his chisel to rub his wrists, which have grown slightly stiff. He closes his eyes and takes a deep, grounding breath, centering himself in the stillness of the room. The scent of the cherry wood is pervasive, a sweet, resinous aroma that seems to have seeped into his very skin. He loves this smell. It is the smell of his life's work, the fragrance of his sanctuary. He reflects on how much he has changed since he first picked up a chisel so many years ago. He was once driven by ambition, by the desire to create the most intricate, the most complex, the most celebrated prints. Now, he is driven by a simpler, deeper need to express as accurately and as gracefully as he can the essence of the natural world that he observes around him. The mountain landscape he is depicting is becoming increasingly vivid. He can see the valleys, the hidden streams, the distant temples, perched on rocky outcrops. He knows that when the ink is applied and the paper is pressed, these lines will come alive, carrying the spirit of the mountain into the hand of whoever holds the print. This anticipation is a subtle, quiet joy. He isn't working for a specific audience, he is working for the truth of the image itself. If the image is true, it will resonate with anyone who sees it. This belief is the foundation of his integrity, the principle that guides his hands and his mind through the long, demanding hours of labor. He resumes his work, feeling a renewed sense of clarity. He is carving the final details of a waterfall, a series of vertical lines that must be perfectly parallel and clean to catch the ink properly. This requires absolute precision, a steady hand, and a mind that is completely free of distraction. He works with an almost meditative focus, his heartbeat slowing to match the rhythm of his carving. The world for these few minutes is reduced to the interaction between the metal blade and the grain of the wood. Nothing else matters, nothing else exists. He is in a state of pure being, a place where the ego is entirely dissolved, replaced by the act of creation itself. The afternoon wanes and the shadows in the room begin to lengthen, reaching like dark, graceful fingers across the tatami. He is coming to the end of his work for the day, the major parts of the carving now complete. He feels a quiet sense of satisfaction, a feeling of having done his part well. He knows that tomorrow he will have the energy to complete the final polishing, and then the block will be ready for the ink. He thinks of the long, smooth evening that lies ahead, a time for reflection, for simple nourishment, and for rest. He is at peace with the pace of his life, happy to live in a world where things take the time they need to be done correctly. He is a man who has learned the secret of living, to be present, to be patient, and to be profoundly, utterly grateful for the work that sustains him. The final hour of the day arrives with a soft amber glow that permeates every corner of the workshop, reflecting off the polished tools and the smooth, newly carved surfaces of the woodblock. The master carver is now moving through the very last steps of his process, performing a final meticulous check of the entire block. He uses a fine brush to clear away every trace of dust, ensuring that the channels he has carved are clean and sharp. This is his ritual of completion, a moment to acknowledge the transition from the chaotic state of raw material to the ordered, purposeful state of a finished tool. He feels a sense of quiet achievement, not because he is finished, but because he has remained true to the standards he set for himself at the start. It is a feeling of being in alignment with his own values, a state of integrity that is perhaps the most important result of his work. As he prepares to pack away his tools, he reflects on the journey of this particular block. It has been more than a piece of wood. It has been a dialogue between his mind and the landscape, a way of exploring the beauty and the complexity of the natural world. He remembers the frustrations of the early stages, the uncertainty when the form was still unclear, and the steady developing rhythm of the work as the image began to emerge. This is the essence of his practice, the understanding that beauty is something that must be earned through persistence, that it is not a destination but a continuous unfolding process. He is grateful for the lessons the wood has taught him, for the patience it has required, and for the peace it has provided. He considers the legacy of his craft. He knows that his name may not be remembered, that his works may eventually be lost or worn away by time, but he finds no sadness in this. He is a part of something larger, a lineage of craftsmen who have dedicated their lives to the pursuit of beauty and the celebration of the ordinary. His contribution is his presence, his focus, and his commitment to doing his work well, regardless of the recognition it may bring. This is the heart of his contentment. He lives in a world that is always changing, always transient, yet he finds stability in the core of his daily practice. It is a quiet, resilient kind of peace that he hopes to embody for as long as he lives. He gathers his tools, wiping each one with a piece of oil-treated cloth before sliding it into its proper place in the wooden rack. Everything is orderly, and he feels a deep visceral satisfaction in this tidiness. The workshop is a reflection of his own mind, clear, organized, and focused. He knows that when he walks back into this room tomorrow morning, he will be able to pick up exactly where he left off without any friction or distraction. This consistency is the secret to his productivity, and it is a habit he has cultivated over a lifetime. He encourages anyone who seeks a more centered, peaceful life to adopt similar habits, to create a space for their own focus, to honor the tools that support their work, and to treat their daily tasks with the same level of care and reverence. If you find that the quiet of this workshop has resonated with you, and if you are interested in exploring more stories that honor the beauty of history, the power of slow living, and the tranquility of the human spirit, I invite you to join our journey. Subscribe to our channel and turn on your notifications so you won't miss our future explorations of the past. Your presence here, your willingness to step out of the noise and into the quiet, is a vital part of what we do. We are building a space together, a digital workshop of sorts where we can all find a moment of rest, a bit of inspiration, and the reminder that the most meaningful things in life are often the ones we do with the most care. Thank you for listening, for being here, and for sharing in this quiet space with us. It turns now to the evening, feeling a deep physical readiness for rest. He slides the shoji screens fully open, inviting the cool, quiet air of the evening into the room. The transition from the warm, industrious day to the cool, expansive night feels natural and necessary. He stands in the doorway, watching the first stars appear in the darkening sky above the courtyard. The world is beautiful, and he is a part of it. He feels a profound sense of belonging and understanding that he is exactly where he is meant to be. The work is done, the room is quiet, and the night is full of potential. He turns back to his mat, his mind beginning to drift, letting go of the details of the day as he prepares to enter the soft, healing oblivion of sleep. He lies down on the tatami, pulling the quilt up to his chin. The coolness of the mat, the gentle scent of the night air, and the underlying grounding presence of the workshop all combine to create the perfect environment for deep restorative sleep. He is not thinking of the future. He is not dwelling on the past. He is entirely in the present, a man at peace with his life, his work, and his place in the world. He feels the slow rhythmic pulsing of his own breath, a gentle wave that carries him further away from the wakeful world. This is the ultimate, most important craft, the ability to rest, to rejuvenate, and to find the stillness within yourself. As he drifts off, he knows that when he wakes, he will be ready to begin again, to continue the beautiful, quiet, and meaningful work of his life. The night air has cooled the workshop to a crisp, invigorating temperature, yet inside the layers of the master's quilt there is a snug, protective warmth. He is deep in the early stages of sleep, that threshold where the day's visual memories begin to weave into the fabric of dreams. In this state, the mountains he carved are not just wood, but actual places he is traversing. He walks the paths he spent hours perfecting, feeling the texture of the ground under his feet, hearing the faint imagined rush of water from the mountain streams he rendered with such precision. This is the reward for his intense focus. The work becomes a part of his inner reality, a landscape he can inhabit when the physical world fades. He feels a sense of immense freedom in these dreams, a lack of constraint that mirrors the way he wants to live his waking life, flowing, unburdened, and deeply connected to the natural rhythms that govern all things. He dreams of the cherry trees themselves, not as blocks of wood, but as living, breathing entities in the forest, their roots intertwined beneath the earth, sharing nourishment and strength. He realizes in his sleep that the wood he uses is not an object to be consumed, but a partner in his creation. This perspective shifts his understanding of himself. He is not a conqueror of material, but a steward of it. He feels a profound gratitude for the life that was given to the wood and for the opportunity to extend that life through his craft. It is a humble, beautiful realization that settles into the core of his being, a lesson that persists even as he moves deeper into the quiet, dark pools of restorative slumber. The workshop remains silent, a guardian of his peace. Outside, the city of Edo continues its own life, a tapestry of lights, voices, and movement that rarely slows down. But here, the stillness is sacred. The master's breathing is steady, a soft, rhythmic sound that blends with the gentle settling of the house. He is completely disconnected from the stresses of the outside world, from the weight of expectations, and from the relentless ticking of the clock. He has surrendered to the restorative power of rest, knowing that his body and mind need this time to rebuild, to integrate the day's experiences, and to prepare for the clarity that the next sunrise will surely bring. In his dream, he finds himself sitting again in the same spot, but the room is bathed in an ethereal silver light that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. He picks up his chisel, and as he touches the wood, he hears a soft melodic hum, as if the grain itself is singing. The carving is effortless now. He doesn't need to push, for the wood moves away from the tool of its own accord, as if it is eager to reveal the hidden image within. It is a lesson in the power of intention. When one's purpose is aligned with the grain of life, obstacles seem to vanish and the work becomes a form of dance. He wakes briefly, his heart full, and settles back into the quilt, carrying the residue of that dream sensation with him into the dark. This sense of harmony is what he seeks every day. He knows that his life is not always this smooth. There are days when the wood is knotty, when his hands feel clumsy, or when the weight of his responsibilities feels heavy. But he also knows that those challenges are just as much a part of the craft as the moments of grace. They teach him patience, they test his resolve, and they remind him that perfection is not the goal. Rather, the goal is to remain centered and present, no matter what the world or the world brings to him. This realization is his anchor, a sturdy, invisible presence that keeps him from being swept away by the currents of doubt or frustration. He feels his consciousness expanding, as if he is no longer just a person in a room, but a part of the house, the garden, and the night itself. The boundaries of his identity, usually so clearly defined, begin to soften and blur. He is a part of the tradition, a part of the landscape, and a part of the eternal now. It is a comforting, expansive feeling that allows him to let go of the last remnants of the day. There is no need for anything else. He is at peace with the darkness, at peace with the silence, and at peace with the gentle, inevitable unfolding of his own existence. As the night deepens, the master carver's sleep becomes even more profound. He is essentially recharging his internal battery, storing up the quiet energy that he will need to face the challenges and the joys of the coming day. He understands that this is the most productive part of his schedule, the time when the work he did during the day is processed and refined, when his mind clears itself of clutter, and when his spirit aligns itself with the path ahead. He has nothing to fear from the night. It is his most trusted companion, a space of infinite potential where he can always find the stillness he needs to be the person he aspires to be. And in this stillness, he finds a deep, abiding contentment that is entirely his own. The deep velvet silence of the pre-dawn hours wraps around the workshop like a shroud. The master carver is suspended in the quietest, most replenishing layer of his rest. There is a profound beauty in this stillness, a sense that the world has paused in anticipation of the coming day. In the dim light of the dying stars outside, the room is a sanctuary of dormant potential. His body is perfectly still, his mind finally free from the structure of linear time. He is not master carver in these moments. He is merely a part of the tapestry of existence, a singular thread resting peacefully within the weave. This lack of ego is the ultimate form of relaxation, the point at which all internal struggle ceases and the true self can simply be. He has spent a lifetime honing his skills, but in the dark, those skills are secondary to the raw, unadorned fact of his breathing, his heart beating, his existence. He begins to stir as the very first hints of gray light touch the eastern sky. It is not an abrupt awakening, but a slow, layered return to consciousness. He feels the coolness of the morning air, the weight of the quilt, and the familiar reassuring texture of the tatami mat beneath him. This return is a transition from the internal world of dreams to the external world of tasks. Yet he manages to carry a piece of that dream stillness with him. He knows that if he rushes, he will shatter the delicate peace he has cultivated overnight. So he moves slowly, deliberately, giving himself permission to arrive in the day. Rather than forcing his way into it, he rolls over, stretches his limbs, and listens to the house as it begins its own gentle early morning awakening. The ritual of rising is as practiced as the ritual of carving. He sits up, folds his quilt with precise, practiced movements, and places it neatly aside. He opens the shoji door, and the cool air rushes in. crisp and smelling of the damp earth in the courtyard. This is his favorite moment of the day, the threshold, the place where the possibilities of the new day are still unformed, infinite. He stands in the doorway, letting the morning light wash over him. The world is soft, muted, and full of grace. He thinks about the block waiting for him, but he does not go to it yet. He takes his time, appreciating the colors of the dawn, the way the shadows are retreating, and the subtle shift in the sounds of the neighborhood. He is in no hurry. He has learned that the quality of his work is inextricably linked to the quality of his spirit, and he protects that spirit with every action he takes. He goes to the kitchen to start a fire, his movements efficient and fluid. The crackle of the wood in the hearth is a sound he loves. It is the sound of life, of warmth, and of the fundamental transformation that fire brings. He prepares the water, the steam rising in the morning air like a prayer. The simple act of making tea is a meditation in itself. He watches the leaves unfold in the hot water, observing their color, their movement, and the transformation of the liquid into something nourishing. He drinks the tea slowly, feeling the warmth spread through his chest, a comforting anchor that connects him to the physical reality of his day. He is fully present, fully engaged, and entirely satisfied. This is the bedrock of his day, a foundation of quiet, sustained effort that will allow him to face whatever comes with equanimity. Returning to the workshop, he sits at his station, the wood block now looking fresh and inviting in the morning light. He doesn't start carving immediately. Instead, he spends a few minutes just looking at the block, studying the lines, the curves, and the textures he created the day before. He is checking for flow, for coherence, for that elusive quality of spirit that distinguishes a masterpiece from a mere piece of wood. He finds that he is satisfied. The work has an internal logic, a rhythm that feels authentic and deep. He feels a sense of quiet pride, not because he is a great artist, but because he was honest with his materials. He honored the wood, he honored his own focus, and he honored the tradition he represents. He picks up the chisel. The metal is cool, firm, and ready. He makes the first small adjustment of the day, a tiny microscopic removal of a stray grain near the base of a mountain. It is a subtle change, but one that brings the entire composition into a more perfect balance. This is the work of a master, not the big dramatic strokes that the untrained eye might notice, but the constant, quiet refinement that moves a piece from good enough to excellent. He enjoys this part of the process immensely. It is a form of deep listening, a conversation between his intention and the physical manifestation of that intention in the wood. He feels the resistance of the material. He listens to the sound of the cut, and he observes the result with a detached yet deeply engaged perspective. As the day begins to pick up its pace, the master carver remains within his cocoon of quietude. Outside, the city of Edo is waking up. The streets beginning to fill with the sounds of commerce, the calls of vendors, and the bustle of life. He acknowledges it, but he does not let it enter his room. His workshop remains a pocket of stability in a world of constant motion. This is his gift to himself and to his work, the ability to maintain a focus that is unaffected by the chaos outside. It is a lesson that he hopes anyone struggling to find their own center can learn. That peace is not something you find by changing your circumstances, but by changing your relationship to those circumstances. It is a choice you make over and over until it becomes a way of life. The master carver finds his rhythm early, the morning light acting as a gentle metronome for his movements. The workshop, now fully illuminated by the sun, feels less like a room and more like a laboratory of quietude, where time is measured not by hours but by the depth of the cuts. He works on the foreground, a cluster of rocks that ground the bottom of the landscape. He uses a series of small angled chisels, carving into the cherry wood with the precision of a surgeon. Each flake of wood that peels away is a tiny victory, a testament to the discipline required to maintain his posture and his focus for so long. He notices that when he breathes into his belly, his hands remain steadier and the wood gives way with less resistance. This physical awareness, this connection between his breath, his core, and his hands is what he has spent his life perfecting. It is not just about carving, it is about inhabiting his own body in a way that allows for maximum clarity and grace. He reflects on the many people who have passed through his workshop over the years, the apprentices who came with eyes full of fire and hands full of clumsy energy. He thinks of the ones who stayed, the ones who learned that true mastery is not found in the speed of the blade, but in the stillness of the mind. He remembers the look on their faces when, after months of frustration, they finally cut a line that felt right, a line that didn't fight back, but simply existed as it should. That moment of realization is the greatest gift a teacher can provide. He doesn't need them to produce prints that mimic his own. He only needs them to understand that they can shape their own reality if they are willing to do the work. He smiles at the memory, feeling a deep, quiet gratitude for the continuity of his craft. As the sun shifts, moving from the eastern window to the higher reach of the roof, the master carver pauses to sharpen his tools again. This is a rhythmic, almost ritualistic action. The sound of the metal against the stone is a constant in his life, a sound that has punctuated his days for decades. He finds the process of sharpening deeply meditative. It is a form of restoration, taking something that has become dull and restoring it to its potential. In his life, he has had to sharpen himself many times after periods of exhaustion, grief, or the simple grinding weight of daily existence. He has learned that he is not a finished product, but a constant project of maintenance and refinement. This perspective allows him to be kinder to himself, to understand that periods of struggle are not failures, but simply the necessary conditions for future growth. He thinks about the landscape he is creating once more. The mountain peaks are now starting to emerge with a clarity that is almost startling. He has captured the way the mist sits in the valleys, not by carving the mist, but by carving the sharp, dark lines of the forest that define the boundaries of the space where the mist will live. It is a profound lesson in the nature of reality. We often define our lives not by what we have, but by the space we allow to remain open. We define our purpose not by the noise we create, but by the clarity of the silence we cultivate. The master is a man who understands this balance perfectly. He is not trying to dominate the block, he is trying to allow the image to breathe. As the day advances, he finds himself in a state of flow that feels effortless. He is no longer thinking about the chisel, the grain, or the mountain. He is simply experiencing the act of being there, a conscious presence in the center of a quiet world. His movements are fluid, his mind is clear, and he feels a deep sense of connection to everything around him: the wood, the tools, the house, the city, and the very air he breathes. This is the ultimate goal of his practice: to lose the sense of separation, to become a part of the process, and to find the deep underlying unity of all things. It is a rare and precious experience, and he treats it with the reverence it deserves, moving slowly, carefully, and with a heart full of gratitude. He knows that eventually the light will fail, the day will end, and he will have to put his tools away again. But he is not thinking of the end. He is entirely focused on the current stroke, the current inch of the block, the current breath. He is living in the only time that matters now. And in this now, he is perfectly content, perfectly occupied, and perfectly at peace. He hopes that you, as you listen to this, are finding a similar sense of flow in your own life, or at least finding the encouragement to seek it out. You don't need to be a carver or a master of an ancient craft to find your sanctuary. You only need a willingness to show up for yourself, to do the work that is in front of you, and to embrace the quiet, persistent effort of your own becoming. The afternoon light begins to fade, casting long dramatic shadows across the tatami mats. He doesn't rush to finish. He knows that the work will wait for him. He gathers his tools, brushes the wood dust into a neat pile, and prepares to transition out of the workshop. The day has been productive, quiet, and meaningful. He is tired, but his spirit is buoyant, lifted by the success of his efforts. He walks to the threshold, looks out at the courtyard once more, and breathes in the cooling air. It is another day of his life, another piece of the puzzle, another moment of quiet, steady existence. He is a man who knows that he has lived well, and he is ready to enjoy the evening with that same sense of quiet, unshakable peace. The evening descends upon the workshop, bringing with it a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a cooling of the air, a darkening of the corners, and a sense of deep, settling quietude. The master carver is not yet ready to leave, despite the waning light. He sits for a moment, his hands resting on his knees, his eyes scanning the block in the soft, ambient glow of the late day. There is something almost spiritual about this transition time, a moment where the boundary between the day's labor and the night's rest feels porous. He feels a sense of quiet triumph, knowing that he has moved through the day with purpose and presence. He is a man who measures his life not by accomplishments or wealth, but by the consistency of his attention, the quality of his focus, and the degree of harmony he can maintain between his inner world and his outer actions. He begins the process of cleaning up, a ritual that is as essential to his craft as the carving itself. He takes a soft cloth and carefully wipes down every chisel, checking for any tiny burrs or rust that might have developed during the day's work. He places each tool in its exact position on the rack, a display of order that mirrors the clarity he strives for in his own mind. He sweeps the wood dust from the tatami, collecting it into a small wooden box. He will use this fine, fragrant dust to mix with charcoal for certain types of ink in the future. Nothing is wasted in this workshop. Everything is part of a larger cycle, a system of mutual benefit between the materials and the artist. He finds this sense of interconnectedness to be deeply comforting, a reminder that we are all part of a larger whole and that our actions, however small, have their place in the grand scheme of things. As he prepares to leave the workspace, he thinks about the nature of the landscape he has been shaping. It is a place of mountains and valleys, of rivers and paths, a place that exists entirely within his mind and on the surface of the cherry wood. Yet, he knows that for anyone who looks at the final print, it will become a real place, a site of meditation, a destination for the imagination, a landscape of the heart. This is the power of the artist to bring into existence something that was previously only a thought, to give form to the intangible and to offer that form to the world. It is a heavy responsibility, but one he embraces with grace. He knows that his work is not about him. It is about the mountain, the mist, and the quiet, persistent beauty that he is trying to channel. He walks to the shoji screen and slides it back, revealing the courtyard as it begins to fill with the soft blue light of twilight. The stone lantern is glowing faintly now, its paper shade catching the last of the sun's rays. It is a scene of profound domestic peace, a testament to the life he has built for himself. He stands in the doorway, breathing in the scent of pine needles and damp stone, and feels a surge of profound gratitude. He is a man who has chosen a simple life, a quiet life, a life of focused labor and steady devotion, and he is deeply happy with that choice. He knows that he has avoided many of the pitfalls of a more ambitious existence. The anxiety, the comparison, the constant need for validation, and he is glad to have found this refuge instead. He walks to the small separate room that serves as his kitchen and sleeping quarters. He prepares a simple dinner, a bowl of miso soup, a handful of pickled vegetables, and a small portion of rice. He eats slowly, mindful of the textures, the flavors, and the warmth of the food. Every meal is an opportunity to practice gratitude, to acknowledge the labor of the farmers and the bounty of the earth. He thinks about the cycles of growth and harvest, the ways in which the natural world sustains us, and the importance of reciprocating that support with our own care and respect. He is not a man of luxury, but he is a man of abundance. The abundance of time, the abundance of focus, and the abundance of peace. After his meal, he washes his bowl and cup, his movements unhurried and precise. He returns to his sleeping mat, but he does not immediately lay down. He sits for a time, watching the darkness deepen outside the window. He feels a sense of deep structural stability in his life. He knows who he is. He knows what he values, and he knows how to find his way back to himself whenever he feels adrift. This is the greatest gift of his craft, the ability to recognize the center, to hold it, and to return to it. He hopes that you are learning these same lessons as you listen to his story. He hopes you are learning that the center is not a place you reach once, but a state of being you return to, over and over through your daily practices and your intentional choices. The night is fully here now. The sky, a dark velvet dome punctuated by the first few stars. He lies down, pulling his quilt up to his chin. The house is silent, the workshop is dark, and the day is complete. He feels a profound sense of closure, a feeling of having done what he was meant to do, and of being exactly where he was meant to be. He closes his eyes and lets the images of the mountain, the forest, and the path fade away, replaced by the gentle, dark, and healing silence of the night. He is not asleep yet, but he is drifting, his mind becoming as clear and still as a mountain lake. It is a beautiful place to be, a sanctuary of the spirit, a space of infinite quiet rest. He is at peace, and in this peace he finds the strength to face whatever the morning may bring. The night in Edo is alive with 1,000 small hidden rhythms, but within the walls of the workshop, these sounds are transformed into a soothing, distant murmur. The master carver is settled into the deepest phase of his rest, his body motionless, his spirit untethered from the constraints of his daily labor. In this profound darkness, his mind becomes a wide receptive field. He dreams not of specific tasks or tools, but of light itself, the way it bends around the edge of a mountain, the way it catches the surface of a moving stream, and the way it fades at the end of the day. This preoccupation with light is the true secret of his art, for he understands that a print is merely a collection of light and shadow captured in ink on paper. To understand light is to understand the very nature of existence, and he carries this wisdom even into his deepest slumbers. He feels a sensation of floating, a weightlessness that is the perfect antidote to the physical demands of his long days spent sitting on the tatami. He is traversing the landscape he carved, but it is larger now, vast and unending, a world of texture and shadow. He walks through a forest of cherry trees, their blossoms swirling in the air like snow, and he feels a deep abiding connection to the cycle of the seasons. There is no urgency here, no deadline to meet, no block to finish. There is only the sensation of being, of moving through a world that is beautiful, ordered, and entirely at peace. This dream is his sanctuary, a space where he can reconcile the complexities of his life and find the strength to face the challenges of the upcoming days with a heart that remains unhardened. The house around him seems to breathe with him, the wooden structure shifting ever so slightly in the cooling air. He is entirely safe, tucked away in this quiet corner of the city, protected by the traditions that have sustained his family for generations. He finds comfort in this continuity, in the knowledge that he is not inventing his life from scratch, but participating in a long ongoing story of craftsmanship and devotion. This awareness gives him a sense of perspective that he rarely articulates, yet which informs every action he takes. He is part of a collective endeavor to bring beauty into the world, a soldier in the army of creators who over the centuries have insisted that life should be marked by intentionality and grace. As the pre-dawn hours approach, his sleep begins to lighten, though he remains in a state of deep, protected rest. He begins to hear the city, a dog barking, the faint sound of a wooden wheel on a gravel road, the shifting of the wind through the eaves. These sounds are not intrusions, they are the soundtrack of his life, the reminders that he is a part of a larger community of people, each with their own struggles, their own goals, and their own quiet moments of peace. He feels a surge of compassion for the world outside, for the people who are struggling to find their own centers, and for those who are currently working to build their own lives. He sends a quiet, wordless intention of peace out into the darkness, a simple hope that everyone might find their own version of the sanctuary he enjoys. He is not a man of grand public gestures, but he is a man of profound private impact. He knows that the prints he makes will eventually find their way into the hands of people who are exhausted, people who are lonely, and people who are looking for a moment of beauty in a world that can feel indifferent or harsh. He knows that his work is a bridge, a way of offering a moment of tranquility to others. This purpose, this understanding that his labor is a gift to the world, is what sustains him through the years of repetition and the long solitary nights. He is a servant of beauty, a silent guardian of the quiet, and that is more than enough for him. As the first faint hint of blue light touches the edges of the shoji screen, he finds himself on the threshold of awakening. He is not ready to rise just yet, but he is fully aware of the shift in the world. He remains still, allowing the day to come to him rather than reaching out to grab it. He feels the coolness of the sheets, the steady rhythm of his own heart, and the presence of the workshop around him. He is grateful for the night, for the dreams that nourished his spirit, and for the promise of the day that is about to begin. He is a man who is at peace with the cycle of his life, and he is ready to continue the work he has chosen with a heart that is open, alert, and entirely his own. He knows that when he eventually rises, the routine will begin again. The tea, the sweeping, the sharpening, and the carving. But he also knows that each time he performs these actions, they are new, different, and filled with potential. He is not just repeating the past, he is building the future, one cut at a time. This is the wisdom he has earned through his long devoted life, that everything is a practice, and that if you pay enough attention, you will find that the mundane is in fact miraculous. He is ready to begin again, to see what the light will show him, to feel how the wood will yield, and to continue his journey through the landscape of his own creation, one peaceful, deliberate step at a time. The morning air is crisp, carrying a faint scent of wood smoke and the sharp, clean fragrance of damp earth from the garden. The master carver is awake, lying perfectly still beneath his quilt, listening to the world as it transitions into the new day. He feels a sense of quiet vitality, an eagerness to return to the workspace that has become his entire universe. He does not rush to rise. He allows his consciousness to expand slowly, savoring the transition from the dreamscape of the night to the clarity of the dawn. It is a time for reflection, for setting the intention for the day, and for simply being grateful for another opportunity to engage with his craft. The transition from rest to action is one he has learned to respect. It is not a shift to be made abruptly, but a melody to be played with care. He sits up, his movements fluid and unhurried, and performs his morning routine with the same devotion that he brings to his carving. He rolls up his bedding, tidying the sleeping space until it is once again a clean, empty stage for the day's work. He opens the screen to the courtyard, letting in the fresh, crisp air of the morning. The dew sits on the leaves of the pine tree, sparkling like diamonds in the pale light. He takes a moment to observe the changing colors of the sky, the subtle shift from indigo to a soft, warm peach. This daily ritual is his way of grounding himself in the natural world, of acknowledging the passage of time without being enslaved by it. He feels a sense of quiet vitality, a readiness to begin again, to pick up where he left off, and to continue the process of creation that gives his life its structure and meaning. He makes his way to the kitchen area to prepare a simple breakfast. The routine is familiar and comforting. The grinding of the tea, the boiling of the water, the quiet preparation of a bowl of rice. He works with the same economy of motion as he does with his chisels, wasting no effort, keeping everything in its proper place. As he eats, he thinks about the day ahead. He has the block to finish, the final touches to apply, and then the process of preparing it for the printers. It is a cycle of labor that he has performed countless times, yet it never feels mundane. Each project is a new challenge, a new opportunity to express his understanding of the world, and a new chance to refine his skills. He is energized by the prospect of the work, and he feels a deep, abiding contentment in the path he has chosen. After his meal, he returns to the workshop, his space ready and waiting. He sits down on the tatami, the familiar sensation of the woven mat under his legs, acting as a trigger for his concentration. He feels the room settle around him, the quiet returning like a familiar friend. He looks at a cherry wood block, which sits exactly as he left it, a silent witness to his labor. He picks up his favorite chisel, the one he spent so much time sharpening the night before, and tests the weight in his hand. It feels perfectly balanced, an extension of his own intention. He is ready to begin. The world outside may be full of noise and demand, but here there is only the focus of the task at hand. This is his sanctuary, and it is his strength. You too have the capacity to create such a sanctuary for yourself, even in the midst of your busiest days. It does not require a physical workshop or a craft. It requires only the commitment to create a space of intention in your mind. It requires the ability to pause, to breathe, and to recenter yourself whenever you feel the weight of the world pressing down. It requires the understanding that you are not just a collection of your responsibilities, but a person with an inner life that needs to be nurtured and protected. By finding these small, quiet moments in your day, you can build a reservoir of peace that will sustain you through whatever challenges you may face. You are the architect of your own inner landscape, and you have the power to make it a place of beauty, order, and calm. As he works, the master feels a sense of flow returning to his movements. He is not fighting the wood, he is working in harmony with it. He feels the grain, he anticipates the resistance, and he adjusts his pressure with an intuitive, effortless precision. The mountain landscape he is carving begins to take on a life of its own, the lines becoming clearer, the forms emerging with a startling, elegant reality. He feels a quiet joy in this unfolding, a sense of participating in a process that is larger than himself. He is a conduit for beauty, a medium through which the natural world is translated into human art, and he is profoundly grateful for this role, for the way it connects him to the essence of things, and for the way it provides a stable, grounding purpose for his existence. The hours pass, and the light in the room changes, shifting from the cool blue-tinted light of morning to the warm golden glow of midday. He does not check the time. He is entirely consumed by his work, and it is a state of being that he cherishes. He is a master of his own focus, and he has built a life that supports this step of engagement. He hopes that as you follow along with this story, you find yourself slipping into a similar state of ease and focus. Let the details of his craft become a mirror for your own life, a reminder that you too can find meaning in your tasks, beauty in your efforts, and peace in your presence. The master carver finds his rhythm shifting as the sun begins its slow descent toward the western horizon. The light in the workshop changes, losing its harsh midday intensity and taking on a softer, more honeyed hue that bathes his workspace in a gentle warmth. He is now moving into the final stage of the carving process, the refinement of the smaller ornamental details that will give the final print its character and depth. He works on the textures of the mountain rocks, using a series of short, biting strokes to create the impression of rugged stone surfaces. The wood seems to yield to his efforts with a newfound willingness, as if the entire block has become a collaborator in his artistic vision. He feels a sense of profound harmony, a state where the resistance of the material and the force of his hand are in perfect, elegant balance. He considers the patience required to reach this stage. The process of woodblock carving is not a sprint. It is an endurance of focus, a steady, unyielding commitment to the slow emergence of form. Many of the younger carvers he has mentored struggle with this, often rushing the broad areas to get to the details, or growing weary when the progress seems too incremental. He always tells them that the wood is a teacher and that it rewards only those who are willing to listen to its pace. He remembers his own youth, the restless desire to see the finished print, the frustration with the slow, methodical labor. Looking back, he sees that all of that struggle was necessary, a period of tempering that forged his current ability to remain at peace in the middle of a long, complex task. As he carves, he reflects on the life he has built within these walls. It is a quiet life, often isolated from the major political and social currents that ripple through Edo. He knows that wars are fought, that shoguns change, and that the city undergoes constant transformations, yet in this back room the fundamental act of creation remains untouched by the chaos. He finds comfort in this stability. He is a guardian of a craft that values reflection, observation, and the meticulous translation of beauty into form. This is his service to the world, his small, persistent contribution to the culture that surrounds him. He feels no need for fame or status. The work itself is the reward, a source of inner consistency that keeps him anchored regardless of what happens outside. He pauses, setting down his chisel to rub his wrists, which have grown slightly stiff. He closes his eyes and takes a deep, grounding breath, centering himself in the stillness of the room. The scent of the cherry wood is pervasive, a sweet resinous aroma that seems to have seeped into his very skin. He loves this smell. It is the smell of his life's work, the fragrance of his sanctuary. He reflects on how much he has changed since he first picked up a chisel so many years ago. He was once driven by ambition, by the desire to create the most intricate, the most complex, the most celebrated prints. Now, he is driven by a simpler, deeper need to express as accurately and as gracefully as he can the essence of the natural world that he observes around him. The mountain landscape he is depicting is becoming increasingly vivid. He can see the valleys, the hidden streams, the distant temples perched on rocky outcrops. He knows that when the ink is applied and the paper is pressed, these lines will come alive, carrying the spirit of the mountain into the hands of whoever holds the print. This anticipation is a subtle, quiet joy. He isn't working for a specific audience. He is working for the truth of the image itself. If the image is true, it will resonate with anyone who sees it. This belief is the foundation of his integrity, the principle that guides his hands and his mind through the long, demanding hours of labor. He resumes his work, feeling a renewed sense of clarity. He is carving the final details of a waterfall, a series of vertical lines that must be perfectly parallel and clean to catch the ink properly. This requires absolute precision, a steady hand, and a mind that is completely free of distraction. He works with an almost meditative focus, his heartbeat slowing to match the rhythm of his carving. The world for these few minutes is reduced to the interaction between the metal blade and the grain of the wood. Nothing else matters, nothing else exists. He is in a state of pure being, a place where the ego is entirely dissolved, replaced by the act of creation itself. As the afternoon wanes, the shadows in the room begin to lengthen, reaching like dark, graceful fingers across the tatami. He is coming to the end of his work for the day. The major parts of the carving now complete. He feels a quiet sense of satisfaction, a feeling of having done his part well. He knows that tomorrow he will have the energy to complete the final polishing. and then the block will be ready for the ink. He thinks of the long, smooth evening that lies ahead, a time for reflection, for simple nourishment, and for rest. He is at peace with the pace of his life, happy to live in a world where things take the time they need to be done correctly. He is a man who has learned the secret of living, to be present, to be patient, and to be profoundly, utterly grateful for the work that sustains him. If you have found solace in this quiet journey, please subscribe and turn on notifications to join our growing community of those who appreciate the beauty of slowing down. For your support empowers us to continue crafting these meditative stories that bring peace, inspiration, and positive emotional values to listeners everywhere. The final light of the day is a deep bruised purple that stains the horizon, signaling the end of the master's active work in the workshop. He sets his tools down with a sense of finality that feels earned. The soft clink of metal against the rack, sounding like a gentle benediction. The block before him is a testament to the hours of focus he has invested. The mountain scene is fully realized, its hidden paths and towering peaks waiting for the transformative touch of ink. He brushes the last of the wood shavings from the surface, a ritual of clearing away the past to make room for the future. He stands up, stretching his limbs, feeling the deep resonant fatigue of a body that has worked in harmony with a focused mind. The room feels cooler now, the air thin and quiet, and he takes a moment to acknowledge the space itself, the four walls that have held his ambition, his frustration, his growth, and his peace. He walks to the shoji screen and pulls it wide open, stepping out into the courtyard. The night is beginning to settle over the city, the air crisp and filled with the scent of pine needles and the distant metallic tang of the nearby stream. He stands in the dark for a long time, watching the stars emerge one by one, their steady, distant light a contrast to the flickering, human intensity of the city's lanterns. He finds comfort in this contrast. He is a part of the human story, yet he is also tethered to something older, something larger. This sense of belonging is his primary source of strength. He knows that his life, while small in the grand sweep of history, is deeply significant because it is lived with intention. He doesn't need to be recognized to be valid. He simply needs to be honest with his work and gentle with his spirit. He returns to his living quarters, his movements slow and deliberate. The routine of the evening is as sacred as the routine of the morning. The boiling of the water, the quiet preparation of the tea, the simple nourishing meal. He eats with gratitude, aware of the grace that allows him this moment of rest. He thinks about the people who will eventually see his work, the people who will hold the prints and feel a moment of quiet connection to the landscape he has created. He doesn't know their names. He doesn't know their struggles, but he hopes that, in some small way, his work can offer them a moment of respite, a bit of the peace he has found in the process of creation. This is the goal of his craft, to build a bridge of beauty between his own quiet heart and the hearts of others. After his meal, he prepares for sleep, a practice he treats with as much reverence as his carving. He lays out his bedding, the touch of the fabric soft against his fingers. He extinguishes the lamp, the room plunging into a darkness that is thick and velvety. As he lies down, he feels the weight of the day leaving his body, sinking into the tatami, and he allows his mind to mirror this release. He is not trying to solve problems. He is not trying to anticipate tomorrow. He is merely being a consciousness nestled within a larger, peaceful night. The silence is profound, a deep, nourishing pool that he can sink into. Feeling his own rhythm slow to match the stillness of the room, he is at home with himself, at home with his work, and at home with the world as it is. He reflects on the concept of the finished work. Is anything ever truly finished? Or is everything just a point along a continuum, a brief expression of a larger ongoing process? He thinks about the tree from which his wood came, the years of growth that preceded its felling, and the ways in which his own work is just one more stage in that tree's long history. He is humbled by this realization. He is not the master of the material. He is a temporary guardian, a translator who helps the wood express its own inherent beauty. This perspective takes the weight of perfection off his shoulders. He no longer needs to make the perfect print. He only needs to make the most honest print he can. And that is a relief that allows him to rest more deeply than he ever could when he was obsessed with fame or success. In the dark, he begins to feel the first stirrings of the dream world, the landscape of his mind beginning to shift from the reality of the workshop to the more fluid, expansive imagery of the sleep state. He feels his body becoming heavy, a pleasant grounding sensation that lets him know he's safe. He's not afraid of the dark. He has lived with it for a long time, and he knows it is where the mind heals. He lets go of the last threads of his daily life, the image of the chisel, the smell of the pine, the feeling of the mat, all dissolving into the gentle dark current of sleep. He is ready for the night, for the renewal it brings, and for the promise of the morning that will inevitably arrive. He knows that tomorrow he will wake, he will start the fire, he will sharpen the tools, and he will continue the work. But that is a story for tomorrow. For now there is only this, the deep restorative silence of the night, the peace of a well-lived day, and the quiet, steady beat of his own heart carrying him into the rest he has earned. He is a man of the quiet, a man of the wood, and a man at peace. And as he finally drifts into the deep, healing sleep of the weary, he carries with him the assurance that all is well, all is as it should be, and the journey is its own reward. The path is open, the night is long and kind, and he is finally, beautifully at rest. The dawn arrives not with a shout, but with a tentative, silvery whisper that brushes against the paper of the shoji screens. The master Carver is already present in this stillness, his mind having transitioned smoothly from the deep, restorative dark of sleep into the alert, quiet consciousness of the new day. He does not reach for the morning. He lets it come to him, watching the light slowly define the shapes of his tools, the racks of wood and the finished block sitting at his station. There is a profound meditative beauty in this hour, a sense that the world is being reborn in the soft gray light. He feels a quiet, enduring strength in his limbs, a reflection of the rest he has taken, and the steady, rhythmic life he has chosen. He knows that his energy is a finite resource, one to be managed with care and intention, and he appreciates the discipline that allows him to start each day from a place of calm center. He rises with the grace of someone who has spent a lifetime mastering the movement of his own body. He folds his quilt, the fabric smooth and cool, and places it into the storage chest. The room is now empty, a blank canvas of tatami mat and cedar wood, reflecting the emptiness he strives to maintain in his own mind. He moves to the courtyard, the air of the early morning hitting him with a sharp, refreshing clarity. He breathes deep, feeling the cool air fill his lungs, a sensory reminder of his connection to the natural world that lies just outside his door. The pine tree, ancient and gnarled, is covered in a light mist, the needles holding droplets of dew that catch the faint morning light. He stands there for a moment, simply witnessing the dawn, a practice that anchors him in the present moment more effectively than any word or thought could. Breakfast is a quiet, meditative affair. The ritual of grinding the tea and preparing the rice is performed with a level of focus that turns the mundane into the sacred. He watches the steam rise from his bowl, its movement graceful and unpredictable, a visual poem that speaks of the fleeting transient nature of all things. He thinks about the beauty of impermanence, how the steam vanishes, how the mist lifts, how the night gives way to the day. It is this very impermanence that makes life so precious And it is the recognition of this fact that drives him to do his work with such precision and care. He is not trying to freeze time, he is trying to capture the essence of a moment, to give it a form that can outlast the fleeting nature of the experience itself. When he returns to the workshop, he does not immediately pick up his chisel. Instead, he spends a long time observing the block, his eyes traveling over the lines and textures he created the day before. He is checking for integrity, for the harmony of the whole. The mountain path he carved now feels like an old friend, a familiar road that he has walked many times in his mind. He senses the places where the grain is tight and the places where it is yielding, and he plans his next few moves with the quiet confidence of a man who knows his medium intimately. He is not working against the wood, he is working with it, a partnership of intention and material that has defined his entire life. The block is almost complete, and he can feel the subtle, mounting excitement of bringing a vision to full, final form. He begins the work, his hand moving with a fluidity that is the result of decades of practice. He is carving the final, delicate details of the mountain range, the sharp ridges that catch the imaginary light, the deep shadows that suggest the depth of the valleys. His breath is a steady, almost silent rhythm, a heartbeat that dictates the pace of the metal blade. He is entirely consumed by the work, the world of the workshop fading away until there is nothing left but the contact of the steel with the wood. It is a state of flow that he has pursued all his life, a state where the self is forgotten and only the act of creation remains. In this he finds a deep, profound joy, a satisfaction that is not dependent on the praise of others, but on the internal validation of a job done with integrity. He considers the influence of his surroundings, the way the light in Edo, the sound of the city, and the very air of his workshop have shaped his style. He realizes that he is a product of his time, a vessel for the aesthetic values of his era. He is proud to carry this heritage forward, to be a practitioner of an art form that celebrates the ordinary, the natural, and the quiet. He doesn't need to be unique. He only needs to be true. He thinks about the importance of being grounded in one's own history, of acknowledging the ancestors who paved the way, and of contributing one's own small part to the ongoing unfolding story of humanity. This awareness gives his work a depth of meaning that extends far beyond the surface of the paper. As the morning progresses, he feels a growing sense of clarity. The mountain he is carving is not just a geographical feature. It is a symbol of the spiritual journey, of the persistence required to overcome the heights of our own challenges, and of the peace to be found at the summit of one's own awareness. He is carving these qualities into the wood, embedding his own understanding of the world into the grain. When the print is eventually pulled, he hopes that those who see it will feel a sense of that same journey, a reminder that the path is long, but that the beauty is worth the effort. He is happy to be a part of this process, to be the hands that hold the chisel and the eyes that see the form. The sun continues its slow climb, and the workshop warms with the day. He continues to work, his focus unbroken, his movements sure. He is in the heart of his practice, the place where he feels most like himself. He knows that when he eventually stops, it will be because the work is done, not because he is tired or bored. He has built a life that supports these steps, a life that is as curated and considered as his prints. He hopes that this too is a lesson for you, the power of creating a life that allows you to engage deeply with what you love, the importance of protecting your focus, and the beauty of finding a sanctuary in your own commitments. As he cuts, he feels a deep, quiet gratitude for the life he has lived, for the work he has done, and for the peace that surrounds him, now and always. The golden hour of the afternoon settles over the workshop, casting long dramatic shadows that stretch across the tatami mats like fingers of time. The master carver is now in the final exhilarating stretch of his labor. The mountain block, which has been the focus of his existence for these past days, is nearing completion. He is working on the fine, subtle textures of the clouds that wrap around the mountain's midsection, a delicate ethereal rendering that requires a lightness of touch he has spent a lifetime cultivating. Each stroke of the chisel is a breath, a fleeting moment of interaction between human intent and the natural resistance of the cherry wood. He finds himself holding his breath, his concentration so absolute that the sounds of Edo, the distant shouts of merchants, the clatter of carts have entirely ceased to exist for him. He thinks about the nature of these clouds. In the finished print, they will be the transition point between the solidity of the mountain and the emptiness of the sky. They represent the ephemeral, the shifting, the parts of life that we cannot grasp but can only witness. This is a profound truth he has learned through his craft, that the most important aspects of our lives are often the ones that are the most difficult to define. Like the clouds, our experiences are constantly forming and dissipating, changing shape with the winds of circumstance. His task is to capture a single, graceful form, to give a permanent shape to something that is essentially emotion. It is a humble ambition, yet one that requires the utmost dedication. As he works, he reflects on the passage of the years. He is no longer the young, hungry artist he once was, driven by the desire to prove his worth to the world. He is a man who understands that his worth is not something to be proven, but something to be lived. The intensity of his earlier years has mellowed into a steady, burning flame of commitment. He doesn't need to shout his vision, he only needs to carve it with truth. This shift in perspective has allowed him to find a deeper, more resonant peace in his work. He no longer feels the pressure to be innovative or provocative. He only feels the need to be faithful to the beauty he sees around him. That faithfulness is in itself a form of freedom. He takes a moment to rest his eyes, looking up from the wood to the garden outside. The light is changing, the warmth of the sun giving way to the cooler, more reflective tones of the evening. The pine tree in the courtyard stands as a silent witness to his labor, its needles dark against the glowing amber sky. He feels a kinship with this tree. Both of them have weathered many seasons. Both of them have grown deep roots into the soil of their existence, and both of them have found a way to stand firm against the winds of change. He is grateful for this stillness, for the way the garden offers him a reflection of his own inner state. It is a quiet, shared existence that brings him comfort and helps him maintain his perspective. The transition from the final delicate carving to the completion of the block feels like a closing of a circle. He is polishing the surfaces now, using a fine, smooth stone to remove any last stray fibers from the grain. It is a sensory experience, the feeling of the smooth wood under his thumb, the quiet, reassuring sound of the stone. He is satisfied. The block has a life of its own now. It is a finished object, a repository of his focus, his patience, and his reverence for the natural world. He knows that when the printer eventually comes to take it, he will feel a slight pang of loss, but also a sense of release. He has done his part. He has translated his vision into a form that others can hold, and that is all he can ask for. As the light continues to fade, he begins the process of tidying the room for the night. This too is a form of gratitude. He cleans his tools with a piece of oil-treated cloth, a gentle stroking motion that acknowledges the service they have provided. He organizes his workspace, ensuring that everything is in its proper place, ready for the next project, the next day, the next season. He takes a deep, grounding breath, feeling the silence of the workshop fold around him like a protective cloak. The day has been productive, quiet, and filled with a sense of meaningful labor. He is tired, but it is a good, clean physical exhaustion, the kind that only comes from doing exactly what one is meant to do. He moves to his living quarters. The simple spare room that has been his sanctuary for so many years. He prepares his dinner, a light, nourishing meal that grounds him in the present moment. As he eats, he thinks about the people who will soon be looking at the prints he has helped to create. He hopes that they too find a moment of stillness in the chaos of their lives, a glimpse of the mountain's enduring beauty, and a reminder that peace is always available if one is willing to look for it. He is a humble link in an ancient chain, and he is honored to play his part. He finishes his meal, cleans his bowl, and prepares for the night, his mind already drifting toward the restorative dark. Lying on his mat, he feels the weight of the day settle into the floor. He is perfectly at peace, a man whose life is in alignment with his values. He has no regrets, no unfulfilled desires, only a quiet, abiding contentment with the life he has built. He closes his eyes and lets the images of the mountain, the clouds, and the wood grain dissolve into the soft, velvet silence of the night. He is entering the restorative depths of sleep, where he will recharge his spirit for the challenges and the joys of the coming day. The cycle continues, the night, the dawn, the work, the rest, and he is a willing, grateful participant in the dance. He is at home with himself, at home with his work, and at home with the world, and in that he finds everything he needs. The deep, quiet hours of the night have wrapped the workshop in a shroud of impenetrable, peaceful darkness. In this stillness, the master carver is suspended in a state of profound rest, his breathing slow and rhythmic, an anchor in the silence. His mind, so active and engaged during the day, is now a calm, reflecting pool, mirroring the deep, vast potential of the night. He is not dreaming in the way that others might not of tasks or worries or the mundane concerns of the waking world, but of pure abstract forms, of the way shadows interact with light, and of the fundamental textures of existence. These dream states are the true birthplace of his art, the place where the concepts he explores during the day are refined and distilled into their essential elements. He is a conduit for these visions, a humble practitioner who has learned to trust the wisdom that emerges from the depths of the quiet mind. As the night stretches on, his awareness shifts. He feels a subtle internal resonance with the world outside the workshop. He can feel the city of Edo breathing, a collective entity made up of thousands of individual lives, each in its own cycle of rest and renewal. There is a profound shared vulnerability in this sense that every person in the city is at this moment stripped of their daily masks, their ambitions and their anxieties, returning to the most basic human state of being. He feels a sense of compassion that transcends his usual focused solitude. He is part of this collective, this intricate, invisible network of human experience. He is not separate, he is integrated, a single vital component in a grand unfolding story that is as old as time itself. He finds that even in his sleep, he is practicing the art of observation. He notices the shift in the temperature, the way the silence changes its quality as the hours pass from midnight to the small pre-dawn threshold. He notices the way the house settles, the wood expanding and contracting with a subtle rhythmic integrity. All of these observations are stored within his being, adding to the vast unconscious library of sensations and patterns he will eventually draw upon in his work. He is a collector of the subtle, a student of the quiet, and it is this deep, pervasive attention that informs every cut he makes. He understands that nothing is truly silent, nothing is truly empty. Everything is resonant with meaning if one is willing to listen with enough patience and care. This level of rest is the most important part of his craft, though it is the part that is never seen by those who look at his finished prints. It is the invisible work, the preparation of the vessel. If his mind were cluttered, if his spirit were restless, his work would lose its clarity, its grace, and its ability to speak to the core of the human experience. He treats his rest with the same high standards he applies to his wood. He ensures that it is deep, that it is pure, and that it is uncompromised. He understands that he is the tool, and that if the tool is not maintained, the work will suffer. So he rests with the same intensity that he carves, a testament to his understanding that life is a whole, an inseparable blend of action and stillness, light and dark, labor and peace. As the first faint, ethereal suggestion of dawn begins to stir the eastern sky, he remains in his state of deep, protected slumber. He is not in a hurry to leave this place of replenishment. The world can wait. The wood can wait. The prince, the customers, and the expectations of society, all of them can wait until he is fully refreshed and ready to engage with them from a place of genuine, authentic presence. This is the ultimate, most profound expression of his independence. He is the master of his own time, and he uses it to cultivate the very state of being that allows his work to resonate with such truth and such beauty. He is a man who has learned the hardest, most important lesson of all, that your own peace is the most valuable thing you have, and that you must protect it with everything you are. He begins eventually to stir, a slow, gentle transition that feels like emerging from a deep, warm sea. He is aware of his own consciousness returning piece by piece, the sense of his limbs, the touch of the fabric, the sound of the world outside, which is now beginning its slow, rhythmic ascent toward the bustle of the new day. He opens his eyes, but he remains still, letting the morning light interact with his senses. He is not thinking of the future. He is not thinking of the past. He is entirely in this moment, a witness to the simple, miraculous fact of his own existence. He is a person who has lived well and who is ready to live well again, in whatever way the new day demands. This is his strength, his foundation, and his deepest joy. He moves at last, his body familiar with the ritual of rising. He folds the quilt with a precision that speaks of his deep respect for the simple objects of his life. He opens the screen and the air of the new morning flows in, crisp, clean, and full of the promise of another day. He stands in the doorway, observing the world, his heart full of a quiet, steady gratitude. The mountains are waiting, the wood is waiting, the ink is waiting, and he is ready. He is a man at peace, a man at work, and a man at home, within the beautiful, quiet, and meaningful rhythm of his own life. Everything is as it should be, and he is ready to continue the long, beautiful, and eternal process of becoming one peaceful, deliberate, and masterful stroke at a time. The morning sun has climbed just high enough to touch the moss-covered stones of the courtyard, igniting a vibrant emerald green that seems to glow from within. The master carver stands at the edge of his workshop, watching this quiet transformation. He has already completed his morning rituals, the tea, the sweeping, the silent acknowledgement of the tools, and he finds himself in a state of perfectly poised readiness. There is no urgency in his posture, no frantic energy in his eyes. He has learned that when one moves in harmony with the natural flow of the day, there is always enough time for what truly matters. He sits at his workspace, the cherry wood block, now a finished, elegant topography of lines and depths. It is time for the final preparation, the delicate stage of verifying that every channel is clear and ready for the ink. He picks up a small pointed brush, brushing away even the most microscopic particles of dust that might interfere with the transfer of the image. This act of purification is his silent promise to the art that nothing unnecessary will remain. As he works, his thoughts turn to the nature of the image he has created. It is a scene of a distant mountain, one that he has visited only in his mind's eye, a place of sanctuary and silence. He realizes that in carving this place, he has been building a home for his own spirit. Throughout the years, as he has navigated the complexities of life in the capital, he has relied on the internal landscape to keep him centered. Whenever the world felt too heavy or the demands too intrusive, he would retreat to this imagined mountain. He would walk its paths, listen to the wind in its pines, and find the clarity that the city so often obscured. Now, by making this landscape permanent on the wood, he is offering that same sanctuary to others. It is a profound quiet service to give people a visual path to their own inner peace. He considers the evolution of his own hands. They are marked by the scars of a lifetime of labor, the skin toughened, the fingers possessing a subtle permanent curvature from holding the chisels. He doesn't see these as signs of wear, but as maps of his dedication. Each mark has a story. Each color is a testament to a lesson learned or a challenge overcome. He has learned to love his hands, to respect them as the primary instruments of his life's purpose. He thinks of the many young apprentices who once looked at their own hands with impatience, wanting them to be already skilled, already weathered, already capable. He smiles, remembering the wisdom he had to impart to them. That patience is not just about waiting for the end of a task, but about honoring the time it takes to become the person who is capable of doing it. The workshop, with its familiar scent of wood and stone, feels like a living entity. It has breathed with him through the heat of summer and the chill of winter. It has held the silence of his deepest reflections and the energy of his most productive hours. He recognizes that he is not just the master of the shop, he is its guest, invited to work within its peaceful confines. He respects this space by keeping it orderly, by maintaining his tools with reverence, and by approaching each day's work with a fresh, untainted curiosity. This attitude of stewardship, he believes, is what keeps the craft alive. It's not about owning the tools, it is about being worthy of using them. He hopes that long after he is gone, this space will continue to foster the same spirit of dedication in whoever finds their way to it. He turns his attention to the ink that will soon be applied to the block. He selects the finest charcoal, mixing it with the binder with a methodical, rhythmic intensity. The scent is familiar, a rich, earthy aroma that signals the transition from the carving phase to the printing phase. He watches the color deepen, the paste becoming smooth and consistent. He is reminded of the alchemy of his work, how raw, disparate materials like wood, charcoal, and paper are transformed through human intention into something that holds meaning and emotion. It is a reminder that beauty is not something that exists out there in the world waiting to be found. It is something that is constructed piece by piece through our willingness to engage, to refine, and to care. As the afternoon sun moves toward the western wall, the light in the room softens into a warm, inviting glow. He feels a sense of quiet closure. The block is ready. The tools are clean. The mind is clear. He knows that his work for this day is complete, not because he has reached a finish line, but because he has moved to the next threshold of the process. This is the secret to a life of sustained creativity, to find the finish in the ongoing, to be satisfied with the transition, and to move forward without the heavy burden of what comes next. He is entirely content to simply exist in this moment, to look at his hands, to smell the ink, to feel the quiet breath of the room. He is a man at ease with his own life, a man who has learned that the true summit is not the peak of the mountain, but the daily path he walks to get there. He stands up and walks to the threshold, his movements slow and deliberate. He looks out into the garden, where the twilight is beginning to gather in the corners. He watches a single leaf drift down from the pine tree, landing silently on the stone path. It is a tiny, perfect event, one that might go unnoticed by anyone else, but to him it is a piece of the day's profound beauty. He breathes it in, the transition, the ending, the promise of the coming night. He is grateful for the simplicity, for the clarity, and for the deep, unwavering sense of purpose that guides him. He knows that he has lived this day with as much integrity as he could, and that is all that can ever be asked. As the shadows grow, he prepares for the evening, a time for reflection, and eventually the deep, restorative dark that he has come to know as his most loyal companion. The night has returned to the workshop, settling in with a familiar weight that feels more like an embrace than an absence of light. The master carver is sitting on his mat, the room around him a study in shadow and soft muted tones. He has finished the major tasks of the day, and in this quiet interval, he finds his mind naturally turning toward the deeper, more subtle questions of his existence. He is a man who has spent his life working with his hands, yet he knows that the most important work has always been the interior journey. He thinks about the transition from the tangible physical world of the wood and the ink to the intangible internal world of reflection. It is a transition he makes every evening, a deliberate movement from the doing of the world to the being of the soul. He feels a sense of profound, quiet expansion in this space, as if the walls of his little workshop are falling away, leaving him connected to a much larger, more mysterious reality. He recalls the many times he has felt this same expansion, during moments of intense focus, when the ego dissolves and the work simply happens, during moments of profound silence, when the world seems to hold its breath, and in the depths of the night, when the distinction between the self and the universe becomes incredibly thin. He realizes that these moments are not outliers, they are the true fabric of his life. The day-to-day tasks are just the framework, the necessary scaffold upon which this deeper experience is built. He is grateful for the discipline of his craft, for it has provided him with the structure needed to reach these moments of insight. Without the carving, without the constant steady demand of the wood, he might have been lost in the noise and confusion of the world. The wood was his teacher, his constant, and his most faithful companion. As he looks into the darkness, he sees the potential for so much more. He thinks about the way his understanding of beauty has deepened over the years. It is no longer about the technical perfection of a print or the intricacy of a design. It is about the honesty of the expression, the integrity of the intention, and the degree to which a work of art can reflect the essential nature of the world. He realizes that he is not just creating images of mountains or forest. He is creating images of his own inner state, his own peace, and his own connection to the cycle of all things. This realization brings with it a sense of humility. He is not a creator in the sense of bringing something new out of nothing. He is a witness, a translator, a person who tries to express the beauty that is already there, inherent in the universe, if only we take the time to see it. He considers the influence of the people who have come into his life. He thinks about his mentors, the stern but kind men who taught him that there are no shortcuts, that the wood will always reveal the quality of your character. He thinks about his friends, the quiet souls who have supported him through the years, never needing to speak much, just being there, a constant steady presence. He thinks about the strangers who have bought his prints, the people who have found in his work a moment of solace. He is overwhelmed by a sense of gratitude for this invisible, intricate web of connections. He realizes that he is not a solitary figure, as he sometimes imagines himself to be. He is a part of a vast, complex humanity, all of us trying to find our way, all of us looking for moments of meaning and grace. The silence of the room seemed to grow thicker, more resonant. He closes his eyes and allows himself to sink into it. He is not trying to achieve anything now. He is just existing. He is a consciousness that is aware of itself, aware of the quiet, aware of the darkness. It is a place of profound rest, a sanctuary that he can access at any time, in any place. He realizes that this is the ultimate, most important lesson of his life. That the sanctuary is not the place you have to build, it is the place where you already reside. You only need to learn how to inhabit it. The workshop, the tools, the wood, they are just tools to help him find his way back to this fundamental, eternal home. He feels a sense of profound, unshakable peace. He is ready for the night. He is ready for the rest that will prepare him for the work of tomorrow. He knows that when he wakes, the sun will rise, the birds will sing, and the world will begin its dance once again. He is ready to participate in that dance with all his heart. He is a man who is at home in his own life, a man who is grateful for every moment, and a man who is finally truly at peace. As he lies down on the tatami, he feels the support of the floor, the coolness of the air, and the deep, abiding presence of the silence. Everything is as it should be. The journey is complete, and yet it is always just beginning. He drifts off, a soft smile on his face, into the gentle, healing, and beautiful dark of the night. If you have found a reflection of your own journey in these words, please know that you are not alone in your search for meaning, for stillness, and for the beauty that is hidden in the quiet moments of our days. We are all carving our own paths, trying to express the truth of our own experiences and seeking a sanctuary in a world that is always moving. Let this story be a reminder that you too have the power to create a life of intention, to find a deep, resonant peace in the midst of your daily labor, and to connect with the larger, more enduring beauty that sustains us all. Thank you for walking this path with us, for your presence, and for the quiet, thoughtful attention you have given to this story. You are a part of the tapestry, and your own unique contribution to the world is both valuable and necessary. May you find your own mountain, may you find your own peace, and may you always have the strength to continue your own beautiful work. The quiet transition from deep night to the first gray light of dawn is a moment of sacred stillness that the master carver has observed for a lifetime. He lies motionless, his senses gradually unfolding like the petals of a morning glory. There is no urgency in his awakening, only a profound sense of gratitude for the simple continuity of existence. He feels the coolness of the air, the gentle pressure of the floor against his back, and the rhythmic, steady pulse of his own heart. It is the beginning of another day, and he embraces it with the same equanimity he brings to the carving of a block. He knows that his life is not measured by the accumulation of possessions or the recognition of others, but by the quality of his attention and the depth of his presence. He sits up, folding his quilt with the practiced, almost unconscious grace of a man who has performed this action thousands of times. Everything is in its place, just as he left it. Stepping into the courtyard, he is greeted by the cool, damp breath of the morning. The world is soft, muted, and full of potential. The pine tree stands like a sentinel, its needles holding the dew that sparkles in the pale, ethereal light of the approaching sunrise. He takes a long, slow breath, letting the clarity of the morning fill his lungs and his mind. This is the moment when he reestablishes his connection with the natural world, a fundamental part of his practice. He understands that he is not a separate entity from the landscape. He is a part of it, a thread in the vast, intricate weave of the world. This realization grounds him, allowing him to approach his work not as an imposition on nature, but as a collaboration with it. He feels a sense of quiet vitality, a readiness to begin again, to engage with the wood, and to continue the process of creation that has defined his life. In the kitchen, the ritual of the morning tea begins, the sound of the water, the movement of the charcoal, the delicate earthy scent of the leaves. All of these are components of a meditation that he has perfected over the decades. He works with an economy of motion, wasting no energy, keeping his movements fluid and purposeful. As he drinks the tea, the warmth spreads through him, a comforting internal anchor that prepares him for the focus of the day. He thinks about the importance of this daily ritual. It's a way of saying, I am here, I am present, and I am ready. It is a boundary he sets against the chaos of the world outside, a way of protecting the sanctuary he has built within himself. He believes that everyone, regardless of their path, can find strength in such small, consistent acts of self-care. Returning to the workshop, he sits at his station. The block sits before him, finished, waiting for the final critical steps. He does not rush. He spends a long time looking at it, letting his eyes wander over the lines and the textures he has carved. He is looking for the spirit of the image, the elusive quality that separates a well executed work from a masterpiece. He finds that he is content. The image has a life of its own. It breathes with a quiet, persistent energy that he finds deeply satisfying. He realizes that he is no longer the author of this work. He is merely the conduit through which it has come into existence. This perspective allows him to work with a sense of humility and gratitude, knowing that he is a part of something much larger than himself. He begins the final meticulous cleaning, using a soft dry cloth to ensure the surface is absolutely pure. He checks the edges, the depths, the subtleties of the texture. Every detail must be perfect, not because he needs to show off, but because he respects the integrity of the image. He is an instrument of the truth, and he takes this role seriously. He knows that if he cuts a corner, if he fails to pay attention, the final print will suffer. He is committed to this level of excellence, not for the sake of reward, but for the sake of his own peace of mind. To do a job well is its own reward, a source of inner stability that cannot be taken away by any circumstance or challenge. As the sun rises fully, illuminating the workshop with its warm golden rays, he feels a sense of quiet accomplishment. The work is almost ready for the press. He thinks about the journey he has taken to reach this moment, the years of struggle, the moments of insight, the quiet, persistent effort that has built his life. He is not a man of great public achievement, yet he feels a sense of profound personal success. He has built a life that is in harmony with his values, a life that is peaceful, focused, and meaningful. He has found a way to be his true self, and that is a victory that he carries with him every day, in every action he takes. He is a man at peace, a man at work, and a man at home in the world, and that is more than enough. You who have listened to this story are also on a journey of your own. You are carving your own life, making your own choices, and seeking your own sanctuary in a world that is often overwhelming. May you find in these words a reminder of your own power to create, your own ability to find peace, and your own path to a life of meaning. May you be as patient with yourself as the master is with his wood, as consistent in your efforts, and as grateful for the small, quiet beauty of every day. The journey is not about reaching a destination. It is about the path itself, the way you walk it, and the presence you bring to every step. Your life is your work of art. Carve it with care, with truth, and with love. The master carver sits amidst the soft, diffused light of the morning, watching the dust motes dance in the shafts of sun that pierce the shoji screens. It is a quiet, contemplative scene, the kind that has defined the texture of his existence for decades. The workshop is a place where the passage of time is measured, not by the ticking of a clock, but by the accumulation of wood shavings on the floor and the gradual emergence of forms from the cherry wood blocks. He feels a sense of profound continuity today. The work he is doing now is connected to the work he did as an apprentice, a long, unbroken thread of intention and craft. He realizes that this is the essence of his life. He is not just a person doing a job, he is a link in a chain that spans generations, carrying forward a tradition of observation, refinement, and respect for the material. He understands now that his life has been a long act of listening, listening to the grain of the wood, the whisper of the wind, and the quiet, steady rhythm of his own beating heart. He picks up a small, fine-edged knife to make a series of intricate, delicate marks on a new block. This is not for a large, sweeping landscape, but for a smaller, more intimate piece, perhaps a single branch of plum blossoms or the curve of a distant hill in the rain. He approaches these smaller tasks with the same level of reverence as the larger ones. He knows that beauty is often found in the subtle, the overlooked, and the momentary. By paying attention to the way a petal curls or the way a drop of water hangs from a leaf, he is practicing a form of humility, acknowledging that the world is full of wonders that deserve to be seen and recorded. This is his way of staying connected to the reality of the natural world, even while he spends so much of his time indoors. He is no longer racing to finish, he is savoring the act of creation, recognizing that each cut of the blade is a unique, unrepeatable event in the vast tapestry of existence. He pauses to sharpen his blade, the sound of the stone against the metal, a rhythmic grounding constant in his day. It is a sound that reminds him of the necessity of self-maintenance. Just as the blade must be returned to its optimal state, so too must the mind. He thinks about how easily we let ourselves become dull in our daily lives, how we allow the weight of habit, the fatigue of routine, and the accumulation of minor stressors to dampen our sharpness. He has learned that he must intentionally sharpen his own perception, his own kindness, and his own patience. He does this by stepping back, by breathing deeply, and by returning to the core of why he does what he does. It is a simple, effective practice that keeps him resilient, and in the quiet of this morning, he feels sharper, clearer, and more at peace than he has been in many years. Outside, the neighborhood of Edo is waking up, but the sounds remain distant, muffled by the sturdy walls of his home. He is grateful for this isolation. It provides the space he needs to hear his own thoughts and to feel the rhythm of his own internal state. He knows that in the modern world, silence is a commodity that is increasingly hard to find, and he treats the silence of his workshop as a precious resource. He hopes that those who listen to his story can find a way to carve out their own pockets of quiet, their own sanctuaries where they can simply be without the need to perform, to produce, or to be seen. He believes that this is a fundamental human need, one that is vital for the health of the soul. He thinks about the concept of flow, that elusive state where the worker and the work become one. He has experienced this state many times, and it is a source of deep, sustaining joy. He realizes that this is not a magical event that happens by chance. It is something that is invited by a combination of preparation, focus, and the willingness to let go of the self. When he stops trying to force the wood to be what he wants and instead listens to what the wood wants to become, the work flows. This is a lesson that can be applied to any life. We are most effective and most fulfilled when we move with the grain of our own nature, when we stop fighting against the current and start working in harmony with the natural flow of our lives. He has learned that the resistance he once fought was never the wood's fault. It was the friction of his own ego trying to control a universe that thrives on surrender. The afternoon passes, the light shifting from the bright clear yellow of midday to the warmer, more nostalgic orange of late afternoon. He is deeply engaged in the work, his movements becoming more fluid and less forced. He is in the zone now, that place of effortless, precise action. He feels a quiet, steady pride in this, not the pride of accomplishment, but the pride of alignment. He is doing what he is meant to do, in the way he is meant to do it, and the world feels right and balanced. He knows that this is the best any of us can hope for, to be fully present, fully engaged, and fully at home in the tasks we have chosen for ourselves. He finishes the work for the day, cleans his tools, and puts them away with the same care he used to set them out. The workshop is left clean, empty, and ready for tomorrow. He walks to the courtyard, the evening air feeling cool and refreshing against his skin. He watches the shadows grow, the world turning its face toward the night. He is at peace. He has lived his day. He has done his work, and he has found his balance. He realizes that he does not need to be remembered, nor does he need to leave a grand monument behind. His life has been a long, quiet poem written in wood and ink, and the beauty of it lies in its transience. He has been a vessel for the world's quiet majesty, and that has been a magnificent enough existence. As the stars begin to poke through the darkening sky, he welcomes the rest, the silence, and the beautiful unfolding mystery of the night. He is ready to sleep, to recharge, and to wake up tomorrow to begin the beautiful endless process of being once again. He smiles into the gathering dark, feeling a weightless, profound sense of contentment. He understands finally that he is not the one holding the chisel. It is the life he has lived, the choices he has made, and the love he has harbored that have been doing the carving all along. He walks back inside, closing the screen behind him, and settles down. The master carver is at last at rest, fully aligned with the universe, complete in his incompleteness, and deeply, eternally home.
Sleepy History with Theodore is created for relaxation, entertainment, and sleep purpose.
The stories shared on this channel are inspired by historical events, daily life, and real periods in history.
But they may be simplified, adapted, or narrated in a calming way to enhance the listening experience. This content is not intended to be a precise academic or educational source. While we aim to stay generally accurate, some details may be altered for storytelling flow and relaxation. Please do not rely on this channel as a primary source for historical research or study. By listening, you acknowledge that this content is designed to help you unwind, relax, and fall asleep. Thank you for your understanding and support.